All right, we are live. Let me turn this fan off. It's going to make me sound like a robot. Okay. This is a surprise pop up Sabbath prayer stream that we are going to do tonight. And the reason why bills signed into law in our country, our glorious, once glorious white Christian country, down in the good old state of Florida, for going to Israel and signing the little "Don't be mad at the Jays, don't criticize the Jays, don't even think about looking at them cross-eyed," whatever bill that he passed over there. It has no real merit. That's why he had to go to Israel to sign it, because he couldn't sign it here because it has no merit here. And not only did we have that happen, which made us upset with him, but he did a couple other things that we didn't like, had them surround him in his cabinet in a lot of places and things like that. But he has slowly and quietly filtered several of those out. And it never made the news, of course, because they own the news, so they don't want to admit little things like that. And now, based on the way he had rearranged the cabinet, they have been working now for, I guess, about a time. We've been wanting and praying for someone in our government to finally say, you know what? My children are going to be under threat someday if I keep all this nonsense up. I need to not toe the line. I need to all be controlled opposition. Could these bills that are anti-communism, basically one of the bills, the bill that was passed today, is basically an imposition to the public school system of the state of Florida that they will have to teach. It's a measly amount, 45 minutes, but they will have to teach, which is a laughable amount for the total year. But they will still have to teach for 45 minutes, allegedly. They will have to teach about the evils of communism. And that's a quote. That is what the quote, that I'm quoting him there. He said that this bill will be to impose, and I'm quoting, the evils of communism. That's what it's going to force teachers to teach about in the public schools in the state of Florida. 45 minutes for the total year, I get it. It's laughable, but it's a start. It's a one step in the direction we need to go. We weren't taking any steps forward. No politician was. In fact, every other politician is mandating DEI and CRT, which is two of the bills that he passed yesterday, banning the teaching of those two things, those anti-white garbage things. He banned the teaching of those yesterday down in the state of Florida. So the hope and prayer is that because he has been the first one to take action this way, that other states may follow behind. After all, that is how all the other bans have been created by New York and California, is by those states just out of nowhere, against everyone else's agreement and everything, they started bans. And then other states who are working against the people of America, the white people, started embracing those same things. Well, we can now play that same game, perhaps. And it doesn't matter if all of these bills are actually controlled opposition, right? If they're controlled opposition, we can still take the wheel, right? Because what's happening is right now, for whatever reason, the Yids have allowed our leftist, cucked, Yid-obeying children in the colleges to now be against them. So this is a perfect opportunity where we need to take the reins from them and start driving this carriage ourselves. We really have never had an opportunity like there is now. Think about just a year ago. Think about before October 7th and before all these anti-Yid that they have created and are controlling and everything, protests against them. Think about before that. You couldn't say anything about the Jays couldn't say anything, couldn't say the I word anywhere without every head in a room turning and looking at you in fright and disgust and whatever if you had anything negative or critical to say. I realize that now that all these millions of what we consider dumbasses in the colleges are being loud and ridiculous against the yids to make us look bad and make our anti-J campaign look bad, it still is allowing all of the chatter and all of the talk and all of the online. Now people can actually type the I word or be talking about the yids online, and it's being so flooded now by the lefty morons that with their own videos being against the yids and whatever, there are so many videos being flooded now on YouTube that we folks who really have already been actually teaching the real truth about them for quite some time are now able to kind of just speak freely online. Now I still get banned for 24 hours every several days by the yids because I comment rather heavy. I throw a lot of facts in my comments that really sting people. People don't like Harold Wallace Rosenthal quotes. They really don't like those. But those are the truth. And that guy, there is no such thing as a based J necessarily, but in a way, all J's are also based for themselves. It's not true basedness, because basedness would be pro-white and pro-white Christian. But their version of it, J's are highly based, for their own version of it, if you call it that, whatever. And so, while this could all be, of course, the protests are their own controlled opposition, but while that is the case, we can steer and manipulate this situation. We can manipulate this situation. And we have done so before. We have taken conversations that they were having, that they brought up and started on their own out of nowhere. We have taken those conversations and influenced them, manipulated them enough toward the truth where eventually they took hold on their own. Look at all of the YouTubers now who used to be just conservatives. Now they're actually doing videos against the yids, even though they're also making videos all the time against the lefty nutbags. You know what I mean? So we're in this really interesting time right now where we can really how do I articulate it best enough? I already have, but I'm just saying we need to take the wheel. We got to steer all the conversations that pop up from this teaching that communism is bad in schools. We've got to keep and stir up conversations with people, friends, whoever we can, that we know that we can get away with doing it with. We got to use these current events right now with the bills that just got passed, banning CRT, banning DEI, which I like to call DIE. I don't like calling it DEI. That dupes are white people. It's like Superman putting on a pair of glasses and all of a sudden no one can recognize him. No one realizes the acronym says DIE. It means die whitey. That's what it means. And so it means die. It isn't DEI. It's DIE. And I suggest that all of our based white folks start typing it that way. Yes, it will confuse people at first when they read it and it says what they think is the word die. It won't really make sense. If they would have saw it reading as DEI, it would have made sense to them. Who cares? They'll figure it out. If they keep seeing more and more based white folks commenting in the comment sections on conservative videos and on leftist videos or wherever you comment, if you're putting DIE instead of DEI, yes, it confuses people at first when they read your sentence, but they will figure it out. White people have 3-digit IQ. White people will have enough common sense to figure it out over time, or after just after they've read your sentence. Might only take a couple seconds of a couple of wheels in the back of their brain to spin to trigger them to realize, oh, I get what he means. DEI, he means, But they'll see that word there, die. And if all y'all keep putting that, die, die, everywhere they read about DEI, they see die instead of DEI, we can actually start getting all of our white people to realize what DEI really freaking means. And, the backwards words and acronyms and all those things, we've tried to explain to our people for years and years and years. We were called nutbags, conspiracy theorists, hateful bigots, racist, whatever-ophobes, anti-Semiticals, all the things. But look at it now. After all of our persistence and all of our whatever, it felt like it was getting us nowhere. But now here we have, suddenly and today and yesterday, we have these bills passed banning CRT being taught to our children down in the state of Florida. What if Texas and Alabama and it was anywhere in the South starts embracing this? You know what I mean? And starts banning CRT in their schools. Think about how many thousands, tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of attacks white children, our white children, will be spared from because of the banning of teaching CRT and because of the banning of DEI. Because remember, and let's get back to DIE. Because of teaching DIE also, okay, that is all, they use all of the same rhetoric that they use from CRT. They take the CRT rhetoric to justify the DIE rhetoric, okay? So, they're one and the same. All of you know that. I'm not telling any of you folks anything that you folks don't already know. I'm just saying that is how we need to basically take control of as much of this as we can. We got to do it right now while it's fresh. It just hit the news. It just hit the law books. It was just codified yesterday and today. So, God bless you all. This stream is for us all together to finally have a Sabbath prayer together live. I will conduct it myself while all of you are hanging out. And any of you who want to stay and listen along and pray along with me, you are welcome to. Every Sabbath we should be doing Sabbath prayers. And if it has not quite technically become Sabbath because you are so far west in our country, my apologies for us getting started so early. But I have to be up in the morning on Sabbath. I have people who will be expecting my arrival. And so early in the morning, and so I have to get to bed early tonight. So I had to start this stream early, even though it may be too early for your Sabbath to have technically begun where you are yet. Hopefully you, and I'm going to leave this stream public. This is going to be a public video. This is not going to be a private video because we are not going to rail against the yiddy diddlers on this one. That way it can be public. The focus of this stream is to let enough of you folks show up where when we have enough of our core-based folks here and present who want to participate or listen along, pray along with my Sabbath prayer that I will hold tonight with us live. And this is basically another thing, another reason I want to do this prayer tonight. The specific reason for this prayer tonight, not only is it our traditional Sabbath prayer every Sabbath day, but it also is specifically to thank God for these bills that were passed yesterday and today. That is what this group live prayer is going to be for. Okay, that's the subject of this, and I want it to stay public so that anyone that ever gets to hear this a year from now, 2 years from now, 2 weeks from now, will be able to participate. So all we're doing right now is just hanging out for a minute. We're going to let some people notice. We're going to lose some people. We're going to gain some people. Some of you ain't going to want to hang out long enough for enough of a crowd to be here for us to begin the prayer. But my apologies if your patience isn't mature enough to handle it, or you just don't have the time. We are going to have to hang out for a few until we have enough people here who are a member, who are part of the based brotherhood. And then, because basically I don't want anybody who would love to be here for this to miss it by, say, 5 or 10 minutes. So I'm going to run this for perhaps 5 more minutes. I'm going to just sit here and babble to you all. I apologize if you don't want to have to wait on this next 5 minutes, but we're going to do about 5 more minutes of babbling or so. And then we will do our live Sabbath prayer, thanking God for these bills that got passed. And we're going to ask him to bless this governor down, and he's basically the only governor in our country. He's the only governor in our country. If he's passing bills like that, the things the guy says in his speeches. Oh, by the way, y'all, he said white people today. And he said white people in the context of us being under attack. He did not say under attack, but he said his whole subject matter he was speaking of at the moment was about the attack on white people. And he said white people. Literally, I'm quoting. He said white people. So let's be grateful. Let's be grateful for that white pill victory today. It may seem like nothing, but it's much more important than hearing them say anti-white or anti-whiteism. I know that everybody's very excited if one of them says that, if one of the politicians would say that, but that goes in an anti-white's ear and out the other, and a person who is cucked hears that, it just bounces off their ear. It doesn't even go in one ear and come out the other. It just bounces right off their ear. They don't even think about anti-white. That isn't a thing to our cucked white people. And so this saying white people, though, when you say the two words white people together, I challenge you, be out in public somewhere and say something in a conversation with someone on the phone and just start talking loud and say the words white people, right? You will see everyone in the room turn around and look at you with a look of fright on their face, like, what is this psycho racist about to say, right? Because they use the R word against us. So that's what they'll be thinking is that word. You and I don't use the R word, racist, but they do. So I'm just saying, in their mind, that's what they would be thinking. And so they all will turn around and look at you. That's how sensitive white people are to hearing the words white people together like that. White people, white people, white people. Even some of you folks have become uncomfortable with saying the words white people. You know that saying it out loud comes with a stigma, you know what I mean? And so it's kind of taboo to say, or it feels that way. It feels that way to white people to say or even hear someone else say the words white people out in public. And especially if whoever says the words white people in public loud enough for everyone else to hear is speaking about something about our greatness, something about our amazing accomplishments, achievements, whatever that our people have achieved over the years, or victimization of our people. You know what I mean? Either one. You say the words white people in public and white people freak out. All right? But if you say the word anti-white in public or anti-whiteism in public, you're going to get about maybe 70% of that same crowd is going to turn around and look at you. They're not going to have the same fright. They're not going to have the same freak out. And even though you would think they would, because the anti-white or anti-whiteism, you would think that would trigger them immediately into thinking you're pro-right, super racist, bigot, homophobic, blah, 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 blah. But in fact, it doesn't. If you say anti-white or anti-whiteism in public in front of a bunch of strangers, say it. Test me. See with your own eyes. That's what science really is, right? Real science, real, true, actual, based, white Christian science is observation. Basic observation. Go out in public and say it. And then go out in public and say white people. And watch white people. Watch the difference. Count how many heads of white people turn around and notice the faces they have, the look on their faces they have when they turn around and look. They will all turn around and have the same jaw on the floor almost, freaked out. What the heck did that guy what the heck is this guy talking about over here? Look on their face. If you go out walking around in town, you're talking on the phone to a buddy all loud in front of people, and you say, oh yeah, they're anti-white, or oh, that's just anti-whiteism. Almost no one's going to turn around. It's not going to faze our white people at all. I know it sounds crazy. I know it does. But I almost said trust me. Oh my gosh, please forgive me. Just don't take my word for it. Don't trust me. Go out in public yourself and try both words and take scientific observation and take notice. Take notes if you have to. Jot it down, what you noticed. X amount of heads turned around out of 50 or 12 or 13. And then do the other words somewhere. X amount of heads turned around when I did. I mean, you can literally do it in that fashion and see with your own eyes that saying the words white people is more stunning to other white people standing around you than ever saying anti-white or anti-whiteism. Am I saying don't ever say anti-white or anti-whiteism? Absolutely not. I would be a complete idiot to tell anyone ever such thing. Of course you should keep saying anti-white. Of course you should keep saying anti-whiteism anytime it's appropriate in a sentence that you're speaking about. But try your best to become comfortable with saying white people. You have to learn to become comfortable with saying it. Non-whites are comfortable saying it. Blacks say the words white people probably an average of 10 times a day. You know? Maybe 5, maybe 3. Maybe I was way overshooting it by saying 10. Maybe blacks only say the words white people 3 times a day. Sometimes blacks don't say white people. Sometimes blacks say he white or she white, you know. But if you add those in, okay, if you include those with when they say white people, all right, you'd probably get an average of 3 to 10 times a day. So we have to learn to be as comfortable saying the words white people and that he's white or she's white if you're needing to describe the lady. You know what I mean? Don't just say, oh, it's the blonde lady over there. Say, the pretty white blonde lady over there. See her right over there? The pretty blonde white lady standing there in the blue shoes with the blue dress on. Yeah. You know, be comfortable saying white. You've got to get comfortable saying the word white. It's part of why I picked the name for my channel I did, was to impose the word white back into our vocabulary. Okay, our people have been cucked to where they won't even say the word white unless they're talking bad about white people. That's the only time. The only time a white person who is still cucked, you know, any of our conservative CivNat failures or our total failures, the leftist types, anytime any of them say the word white describing one of our people or say the words white people, it is always in a negative sense, or they won't say it. You know? It's the only time they're comfortable saying those words. And so, and even then, it's hard for them to say, but they know that they're doing it with the shield of being anti-white, so they go ahead and say it, you know? And it's comfortable enough for them to say, as long as they're talking negative about white people. So, anyhow, let me hop in the chat here, y'all. I apologize that I have not said hello to anyone yet. I am literally just trying to let the stream run here for a little bit. I said I would babble for 5 minutes, and that's turned into 12. My bad. Vorpus 22 chimed in first and said, "You're streaming again. Let's go. God bless you, sir, and happy Sabbath to you." Saint Michael of Cigarillo, I hope I said that right, said, "The BDS movement is 100% controlled opposition." Fair enough. And I accept that very well could be the case. And it even most likely is the case. But again, This is opening the door to all the discussion. Before October 7th, there was no open discussion anywhere on any college campus against the Yids. Now, every college campus is openly discussing things against the Yids. Be it controlled or not, they're doing it. And so I say, God bless them. Let them keep allowing their own leftist minions of our children to keep being anti-Yid, because, hey, the more of that gets instilled into them, the more that we can explain why they should not like them later on. You know what I mean? Aaron Jeeger is here, as he sometimes does chime in. And he said, "What's going on, man? Been a while. What's the I word?" Well, it's Yidsreal, but without the Yid. You know, the way they say it. And I'm only not saying it here right now, even though YouTube is flooded with that name right now because of all the anti-I stuff going on. But I want this stream to hopefully stick and not get banned. And so even if it gives me the big warning when I post this publicly, I'm still going to post it public. And if it gives me a strike and I'm down for a while, we'll just have to deal with that. But this one's going to go public. So I'm trying to just behave on what I say on this as far as they are concerned, to keep them from messing with it. James Thomas stopped by and he said, "Was just talking about DIE with a buddy today." Good for you, brother. That is exactly what we need to be doing. If we don't steer, guide, direct the conversation, guess who will? The Yiddy diddlers themselves. And then it will all be steered into a direction we don't want, where we'll end up being blamed. The Frankfurt School, Germans, Nazis, Russians, Chi-Coms, you know the deal. Everything in the world but the Yids will be blamed for communism. Mostly China. I'm sure that'll be China and Cuba are going to be the core focus of this communism bad curriculum that has to be taught to the kids in the public schools now down in Florida. But we can take that first stepping stone and drive them further up the staircase to understanding. It's literally, this is good. I promise you, I can feel it in my plums that it's good. It doesn't matter that they got a master plan behind it, that it's all controlled by them. We, with God's blessing, can take control of it. Just as they've commandeered our Catholic Church 40 years after it was created. Just as they commandeered our Sabbath. Just as they commandeered our ancient identity. Just as they commandeered our ancient land and duped us into commandeering it for them. Just as they commandeered our rainbow flag. Just as they commandeered our word gay. Just as they now commandeering all of our Christian churches and allowing women pastors and gay pastors and gay, members, right? And welcoming them, hanging gay flags in the churches and on the front doors. And oh my gosh, it's insane now. They've commandeered everything. So we need to learn that same practice, okay? Remember the good pastor, bless his heart and rest his soul, Pastor Peter John Peters. He taught in one of his sermons that I reposted on my channel a long time ago, and you can watch on the channel, it's still available, where he said that we don't propagandize. You know, we see our enemy propagandizing all the time, okay? But we don't. And there are two reasons we don't, mainly. There really are more than two that you could come up with. A third I'd say would be to avoid harassment. A fourth would be to avoid damage to your vehicle and home. Other things. But the main two that people use as their excuse not to propagandize our faith and our conservatism as it should be propagandized is they'll say, well, everyone will just outright reject it. You know, it's too hard of a truth. The truth is too harsh. People can't handle that truth. They will just outright reject it. And then I will alienate myself from all my friends. That's what one of my own friends said long ago when I taught him about the shape of the earth. He said, you know, what will my other friends think? That was the first thing out of his mouth. He didn't care about the truth. He only cared what the other people that he has close to his life thought about him and what they would think about him if he ever revealed that he understood certain truths. So that's the first way that everyone rejects wanting to openly speak about these things and propagandize and steer the conversation that we need to steer, the way we need to steer it, the direction we need to steer it. But the second reasoning, the excuse that people come up with, is that it's ineffective, that the Jays have control of everything, that this bill and the bills passed yesterday are controlled opposition, and therefore they are unsteerable, unmalleable, uninfluenceable, unmanipulatable. They're just solid as stone, fixed in concrete, cannot be moved, cannot be budged, cannot be altered. And I say to all of that, horse manure. We absolutely can. Our faith in God and our obeying our Holy Lord will cause us to be blessed by God to have victory. This is what we've been praying for months and years now. For these anti-white things being taught to our children to be banned. Have we not? And if you have not actually said a prayer specifically saying those words, asking our Holy Father to remedy our children and our people of these horrific anti-white teachings, you've still prayed it in your heart and soul every day. Right? Of course you have. If you're any sort of based white person, of course you have. Every day, every moment of your life, there has been a wheel in the back of your mind and your subconscious, and a wheel inside your heart, and a wheel inside your soul dedicated specifically to only that, only to hoping for the anti-white garbage being taught to our children and being taught to all the hostile non-whites they're surrounded on all sides with, by the way. Think about this scenario, y'all. You sending a white child to school now, in Europe especially, or America, is child abuse. You might as well take your toddler and hang him over the bridge of an alligator pit and drop him in. Just drop her in. That's what allowing your child to walk to a bus stop or ride a bus or attend a school in our country is now. It's child abuse. You're sending your child to school knowing for a fact your child's going to be attacked. Now, guess what CRT being taught to all the non-whites in the class, your little white child sitting in the middle of the class, surrounded on all sides, completely enthralled up to their ear holes in non-whites. And they're being told, all non-whites in the class are being told, you see that little white child right there? That's your kid. You see that little white child right there? Yeah. Her ancestors used to rape and beat the crap out of and slaughter and decapitate and cut the wieners and boobs off of and beat the crap out of and drag down the street by the back bumper of their vehicles, your grandparents. And then guess what? Bring! Oh, there's the bell. Time for recess. All you kids got to leave the room now and go outside and be all, around the corner over there where this camera just so happens to not be working right now. Good luck, little white kid. That's what CRT being taught to our kids, to all the non-whites in front of our kids in school is doing. Our children are like little chicken wings, little pieces of chicken, steaming hot, breaded, Kentucky fried chickens walking around in the school. Your blonde daughter with her pretty flowing blonde hair has every non-white in that place salivating at raping and eating her. I hope you understand that. everywhere she goes. So, knowing that, okay, CRT being taught in our schools and DIE being taught in our schools, it was literally pouring hot sauce, seasoning your child before the recess bell, so that raping and killing your child will taste even more delicious to the non-whites sitting in the classroom that just got told that your child's ancestors raped and killed their ancestors. We need to thank the governor, which I already did, so you know. I already emailed his office and gave him a very big encouragement, a thank you, a formal thank you, and a very big encouragement letter, letting him know that he is on the right path with those type of bills. Who cares if he works for the Yids? Who cares if the Yids duped him into doing it and he thinks he's doing it, or who thinks if he thinks it's like all a scam and da-da-da? Who cares? The bottom line is he did it. And even if it's a controlled, planned thing against us, he did it. And if millions of people, millions of our people just flood him with encouragement, okay? I don't know if you've seen, but this guy has a beautiful white family, all right? Yes, he feels like he's in the club, so he'll be protected and all at the expense of all your families and da-da-da. I realize that there are many base folks who are going to counter me with those things, but again, I'm not telling you to trust. I noticed a couple of cats in the comments. Jay, I think it was Quite Cool, perhaps, maybe somebody else, said, I'm sorry, though, if I'm accusing you, Quite Cool, and you hear this, if you weren't, in fact, one of the fellows that said it. But a couple people in my community post earlier replied about DeSantis saying, don't trust him, don't trust him. Well, I didn't tell anyone to trust him. I didn't suggest to anyone to trust DeSantis, okay? What I'm saying is, anytime a politician passes a bill, signs a bill, I should say, into law that is pro-white, that only benefits white people. These bills he passed, you got to understand, they only benefit white people. They don't benefit the non-whites in any way, shape, or form. In fact, had he not banned them, then the non-whites would have stayed in this, having this little victory, great big victory, actually, over us. And instead, now this banning is going to cripple it severely. Even if it's a sham, even if it's not really going to 100% ban every single smidgen of it, it's going to kick it in the balls greatly. And we need this. We need this. Think about your child going to school, all right, being surrounded by non-whites, and the non-whites being told, hey, and pointing at your kid. That kid right there, his parents or grandparents used to rape and kill all your family members from back in the day. That's all they need to hear. Now they have an excuse to rape your daughter. Now they have an excuse to attack your beautiful brunette son. You know what I mean? That the cute white girls are looking at in the class when he's not paying attention. They're all staring at him, making the blacks envious as can be. You know what I mean? All they want to do, all they can do is wait till the bell rings. They can't wait to smash your son in the face multiple times over and over. Kill him. They want to kill him. They want him dead. That's how much envy they have. That's why it's utterly suicidal and psycho that we allow any of them to live in our country. It's insane. It's psycho. It's suicidal. It's utterly retarded and stupid and idiotic in every way. It is the dumbest, stupidest, most retarded thing ever. We have all this firepower. White people make 9 different ways they've come up with to fly off the ground, higher than a bird could ever soar, while no non-whites have ever created flight. White people have created millions of kinds of technologies, of weaponry. We've got battleships. We have airplanes that can take off from a standstill vertically. We got helicopters. We got every kind of missile. We've made 4,000 kinds of bullets. We've got 400,000 kinds of guns. Millions of them in our possession. And we're taking down by a scary R word. We're taken down by non-whites who've never created anything. Just because they come here and they use your politeness against you, your cuckery against you. Stop letting non-whites use your own politeness, your own kindness as suckerism. That's all they think of you. They think of you as suckers. Oh, wow, yeah, how long you been here now? Oh, wow, you're teaching them Spanish. Oh, wow. Dude, that's all cuckery. I know I'm not telling most of you folks here anything you don't already know. I'm saying it for it to be on the public stream for anybody else to hear. All right? And hopefully, that part may get this a little trouble. But hopefully their attention span didn't stretch long enough into the vid. You have to understand this is also why I say I'm going to babble a few minutes and then I extend way beyond that before I actually get to the meat of things, because I have discovered over the years that if I don't get to the nitty-gritty and the meat of things until much further into a video, whether it be a live stream that is made public or an actual video I make public, it tends to stick. It tends not to get caught because their attention span only goes so far. They hang out 10, 15, maybe 25 minutes they can endure, and then they just can't take it no more and they leave. So now that we are 42 minutes in, that was the longest 5 minutes ever, right? I'm going to get back to the comments here real quick. I'm going to say hello to all of you who have chimed in, and then we will begin this evening's Sabbath prayer together. So let's move on here. Yeah, chimed in, and he said, God bless you, brother. God bless you as well. Happy Sabbath to all of you in the chat of my kindred people. He also said, Yahweh is always with us. Indeed. Through his Holy Ghost, Yahweh is always with us. And that is what the Holy Ghost is specifically here for. That is his one and only gig, is to be here as God's representative for us, watching over us every single moment of every single day. And that is why in the prayer you will notice that I specifically thank the Holy Ghost for that specific task that the Lord utilizes him for. Christendom, defender, be ready, said, Christ, he meant, is king. Amen. Absolutely, Christ is king. And that is anti-J now, according to the ADL. And so Christ is king. ADL, how about that? Christendom, defender, be ready. Also said, yeah, now that symbolism is about breaking the legs of anyone on the cross. And I realize he had another word he meant to put in there, or maybe he had one word jumbled up, but I'm sure what you're getting at there is fully agreeable with our people here. Aaron Jeeger said, is this politician you're referring to DeSantis? Yes, it is. Patrick Fitzgerald chimed in. He is here. Hello, Patrick, and welcome. And he said, okay, well, he's talking to Aaron. We'll move on. Who else here? We have a very interesting name, but in the middle of it, it says appreciator. So, appreciator said, it still feels weird to say white people in any pro-white positive manner. Feels unusual. Yes, it does. That's exactly why I'm addressing it today. Because, and I have mentioned it many times in the past, and other, deep into other long vids that I was doing, that you can see from years ago that are still on the channel. But it needs to keep being repeated. Our people have not uncucked themselves. They are not comfortable saying the words white people. They're not comfortable being positive about white people, especially using the words white people when speaking positive about white people. And so if they want to speak positive about white people, they'll say, French, if it's something that a French guy did, or if it was accomplished in France, they'll say that. They won't say white people, and that's all that needs to be said. We don't need to be defining between, Swedish and Italian and Spaniard and German, and all of us are kindred white people. All right. And so white people covers the whole thing. Blacks don't worry here in Detroit about whether they're Sudanese or whether they descend from, Nigeria or the Congo. They don't. They're all black. They're all blacks. All right. That's what they call themselves. They call themselves black. That's that. So, and you can ask any non-white who a white person is, they'll easily be able to point them out. Although they do also mistakenly think Jays are white sometimes. Moving on here. Christendom. Defender be ready. Also said, nope, I messed up there. My bad. I hadn't scrolled down. My bad. Unknown is here. And he chimed in and said, our ancestors are morally disgusted with us on how morally cucked we have become in these last decades. Hell, if they were revived, they probably compare our people to straight Bantus. I agree 100% with your observation. Our people are that far gone. They are that bad off mentally. They would declare, and I have again mentioned in other videos earlier in other years, that our ancestors, exactly what you stated, would declare us, our people nowadays who are cucked, to be mentally deficient, and they would not allow them to have any say-so in our country. No right to vote or any horse garbage like that. There's no such thing as a right. All right? Non-whites don't have any right to have access to white people. And they don't have any right to have say-so over what white people do. They don't have any right to be involved in white people's countries' governments. They don't even have a right to have access to our countries. And so there is no such thing as a non-white having any kind of right to have access to white people, or having to have access to white people's money, or to have access to white people's women, or to have access to white people's schools and education, or to have access to white people's inventions, or to have access to white people's weapons, or to have access to white people's assistance, help, aid, food, clothing, shelter, technology, designs. They don't have a right to anything white people, of white people, about white people, or from white people, or by white people, or about white people. Okay, so Unknown understands this very clearly. And so I hope more of you conservatives who might stumble across this video later on, maybe say a year from now, a couple weeks from now, a month and a half from now, make it through this far in the video because you have actual maturity and actual patience of a grown-up to listen to someone who says things that seem to be outlandish to you, to seem to be far extreme to you. If you have that kind of patience that you've made it this far, hopefully you have enough of a 3-digit IQ to comprehend what we're trying to point out to you folks in these videos. We're trying to get you to notice the super obvious, gigantic, dreidel-spinning elephant in the room that never shuts up talking crap about us, that openly, loudly declares they hate our guts every single day, all over the country, all over the world. They write it in books. They post it every day on their news channels. They post it every day in their newspapers. They post it in articles online every day. But somehow, our white people, gigantic elephant in the same room you're standing in. Gigantic, huge thing. Crapping on the floor. It stinks. Hair sticking out everywhere. Giant trunk. Wrapping around your legs. Sniffing you. Still don't see it. So, Unknown, thank you for the comment. That's exactly right. And he also continued on and said, every other race has biological sense of racial consciousness, except us. And that's how we are behind China, since China's society is of racial homogeneity, it means. And he said racially homogenous. That's true. And so they don't have homosexuality. They don't have DIE. They don't have ACS. They don't have trunism. Exactly, brother. They don't have any of those things because they are a homogenous society, as you say. And that is exactly what America is supposed to be. The 1790 the Naturalization Act of 1790. My bad. I'll say it the right way. The Naturalization Act of 1790 is the original founding law for our country. Only white men of good character. You know what good character means? That means Christian. If you were not a Christian during the time of our founding documents being laid down in ink, if you were not a Christian and people didn't know for a fact that you were definitely a God-fearing Christian, you were not considered to be a white man of good character. You were a white man, but you were not of good character. Good character means you were Christian, upright. Raise your children upright and Christian. Okay? Follow the Bible. Follow the 10 Commandments that we used to have posted publicly, huge, on display at every courtroom across this entire country. And I would argue across all of Europe. Notice, pagan cucks who might listen in, there was no Odin laws in any of the European Capitol buildings or courtrooms. Okay? Every courthouse. There's no cemeteries covered in Odin or Thor hammers. Okay? Over there in our cemeteries. All of our cemeteries, pagan cucks, all of our cemeteries in Europe, all of our cemeteries in Canada, all of our cemeteries in America, all of our cemeteries in South Africa, all of our cemeteries in Australia, all of our cemeteries in Russia, all of our cemeteries in New Zealand, every single Iceland, Greenland, everywhere on the face of the earth where our people reside, the cemeteries are covered in crosses. And those crosses mean the cross that Jesus Christ, representing the shape of the cross that Jesus Christ sacrificed his life for us white people to be redeemed to our Father, Yahweh God. So, no pagan nonsense covering our cemeteries, no pagan nonsense in any of our heraldry known as family crests. You have one, and you should actually, every family crest, every family has multiple crests because they have different designs. So what you have to do is figure out which country you actually hail from, because your last name, since we are all kindred people, actually developed in different countries. It's usually not a 100%, solid Irish name or a 100% German name. You can actually find the same last name in 2 or 3 of our white countries. Barely misspelled different, sometimes spelled identically. And they may mean slightly different things to those different countries, but you'll have 2 definitions of your name then, perhaps. And if not, they will mean the same definition for both countries. And mine does, by the way. And so yours probably does too. And so you may find that you see more than one design of family crest for your family. But that would be because you need to figure out which country, because each design from different places in different countries, they had their own design for their own families, or their own country's version of that family. So just figure out which country you're from and look up that family crest, and that will be your heraldry, your family crest. No pagan symbols on it, by the way. All symbols of Israel on your shield there will be. So moving back to what we were originally saying here. Let's digress all the way back to, let's keep going in the comments. That's what I told you I was going to do. So, God bless you, unknown. Excellent, excellent based observations and commenting you have there. Deborah McGee, hello, dear. God bless you. Happy Sabbath. And she said, hello, Stay White and brothers and sisters. Hello to you, dear. Glad you're here. Unknown, with another brilliant piece of wisdom, I'm sure, for us to read. And he said, immigration and low standards. That's how China became a superpower. Banning degeneracy. No DIE. No policy on immigration. Educational rigor and better militarism. I agree. That's exactly what they did. Did they oppress the dog crap out of their people to accomplish it? Yes. Do we need to do that? Absolutely not. Our Uncle A proved that perfectly. Germany literally rallied behind him, okay? They rallied behind his love and enthusiasm for our people. And so that is the way we need to lead our people, not through oppression and demand and iron fist like the communists do. But we need to play their same game when it comes to propagandizing. We need to play their same game when it comes to being manipulative. All right, I'm going to say something before we start this prayer that's going to be a little controversial, but I want to take y'all down a little quick little side trail here. God uses deception. God creates evil. And he says so with his own mouth in our Bible. He says, I create evil. You can go look that up right now on your Holy Bible on another tab. Okay? He says it in our Bible with his own mouth. He also said that in the last days he would create a strong delusion. You know what that means? That means creating evil again. Right? Don't you think someone being deceitful, creating a delusion to dupe other people into believing, wouldn't you call that evil? Of course you would. If I did that to you, you would call me evil for doing so, or you would at least say that me doing so, the act of what I did, is evil, right? So God uses deception. God uses manipulation. God uses war, by the way. God uses death. God uses offense. God uses defense. God uses all the things that we use. Why? Because we use all these things because our God uses them. We get jealous because our God gets jealous. We get vengeful because our God gets vengeful. Notice how you've always been taught that getting revenge is evil, but they teach the non-whites that wanting revenge against you and your little defenseless white child at school is completely justified, completely normal, perfectly sane, absolutely human. Well, who's right? Which is it? I already explained to you a second ago. God creates negativity. So, why am I saying all this right now to you? I'm saying all this to you right now not to tell you to lie necessarily when you interact with people. What I'm saying to you is that, and I want to articulate this as best as I can, okay? So that I don't want any of you to misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. And then I will move on with the comments. I apologize that we're taking so long, but this is good. This is good, y'all. This is going to keep the YidTube staff from having the patience to carry this far in and flag us. So bear with me here, and we will get to our prayer if you'll just hang with me. And I want to say real quick to you folks who are faithful, long-term faithful visitors, I apologize for the wait, for being able to interact with you folks again. I have had some life things going on, and they have taken my time. And what time I have when you see me posting community posts or commenting in the comment section, it's because those things I had the ability to do, but that was the limit of my ability. I couldn't really sit down and do a stream or make videos or anything, even though I would love to. There's a million subjects I would love to cover. I want to do a whole video about fornication. I want to do a whole video about what the word actually means. I want to do a whole video about the Tower of Babel. I want to do a whole video about so many things that I want to, the Book of Enoch being a hoax, the Mandela effect is a hoax. All these things I want to, the war against tobacco, it's not deadly. There's so many things. I have videos made already years ago, posted on YouTube. For years they were on YouTube. And they were purged. They were deleted in the third purge back in 2018. But those are stuck on an old device I have, and I would have to pay a great deal of money to have them recovered, have the platters taken out and fully recovered that way. And so I've just never done it. And those videos were more crude back then. So I really just need to redo them. And so I will get around to doing them. It's just life is getting in the way right now. And I will eventually, and I apologize for your wait. I apologize for your wait tonight on having to finally get to the prayer. And I apologize for your wait on me finally ever sending anything. I noticed that it's been 1 year since I posted a video, an actual video. But that's not really true. I posted videos since then, like Training Day Part 2 and how non-whites survived the flood and some of these others, and they just got deleted. So since they were purged, I had to put them elsewhere on other channels like Rumble. And so I have posted a video in less than a year, but it shows on my channel that my last video I posted was a year ago. So super sorry about the wait, y'all. I'm trying to work a burp out of me. I apologize. I know I shouldn't be saying that to you on the live stream here, but whatever. I just wanted you to know why I sound weird. Trying to work this little bit of air out of my gut here. Patrick Fitzgerald said to Deborah McGee, "Hey, how are you?" And also Unknown said hello to Deborah McGee. And Deborah McGee chatted back with them. And we're going to scroll on past all that and try to get down onto what all I've been missing. Patrick asked, why haven't you streamed for so long? And I think I just covered that, so I'll skip on down. Deborah said, man, have we lost our way? Boy, isn't that the truth. Certainly we have. And it's just awful that we've gone so low. And God reminded us and warned us. He warned us over and over again and reminded us over and over again of how many times he had already brought us super low. And he also reminded us of how low he brought us. But, I should reword that real quick. We bring ourselves down. God doesn't have to do anything for us to debase ourselves. We do that all by ourselves, And so, and it starts off accidental, seemingly harmless. The first few times may not bother you or harm you at all. But it's the butterfly effect. It's the slowly over time, it's a gradient that climbs. And eventually it just suddenly goes exponential. And then from there, you're in so deep that it takes a miracle of God to come rescue us from our situation. And that is why we are supposed to honor Passover instead of Easter, by the way. Because Passover is our day. We are the people who were in bondage in Egypt for 400 years. 400 years of white people being in captivity. Can you imagine that? Can you freaking even put that possible scenario in your mind? Think of how powerful and how genius and how amazing white people are. Can you imagine anybody being able to conquer white people for 400 years as slaves, as total absolute slaves? In bondage, it calls us, That's super slavery, in bondage. That means you are bonded. That means you have something around your ankle, something around your neck. You know what I mean? Not like the bees had here in America, where it was all imaginary. Actual chains on your ankles or actual chains around your neck kind of thing is what was going on when they say in bondage in Egypt in the Bible. And so our white people were so brought down and so contained and so under arrest by these other mixed up white people types that it took all of these massive miracles from God for us to be freed. And notice that God did not force us to go to battle with them to free ourselves, which would have cost us many thousands of our young men, women, and children's lives to be slaughtered in battle. Instead, God allowed all of us to escape basically scratch-free. We didn't have to lift a finger. What if all of those white people back then, for 400 years, had 80 million guns, right? But they didn't have to fire a single shot to be freed from what they were stuck under for 400 years and couldn't get their own selves out from under. So, Passover, God reminds us about it over and over and over and over again in the Bible. He is the God of Israel who freed us from bondage in the land of Egypt. When God reminds you of something, okay, let me just, hold on, I'm going to back up real quick. When you were raising your child, this is for the obviously for the folks who have had children. For those of you who have reared children, when you told your child not to do something, right, or to do something, either way, and you really wanted them to be clear, and you wanted to be certain that they definitely burned into their memory for good the thing you want them to know. You tell them the thing you want them to know, and then sometimes you might make them repeat it back to you. Now, what did I just say? What did I just say to you? What did I just tell you to do when the such and so comes? When the time comes, or when the thing happens? I told you to do so and so. Or what did I tell you? And then you make them repeat it back. Okay, and then remember how sometimes as a kid you will remind a kid over and over again, don't do that, remember this thing coming up, or remember, don't do that, you got yourself hurt real bad last time you did that, remember? And that as a parent, you keep reminding your child about a thing that they better not do because it hurt them before, or a thing they better remember to do because it's important. Whichever the case, you constantly remind them, or maybe not constantly to being a pest about it, but you do regularly, or it's to some regular frequency, remind them about the thing until you know from their actions and behavior that they have burned that lesson into their memory forever, or for the time frame that they need to have it for. So God reminds us in the Bible over and over again as our parent about him freeing us from Egypt. Why do you suppose God didn't just free us and then forget about it? Don't mention it. You've heard people say that. You go to thank someone, and the guy says, don't mention it. Right? Do you ever see God say, don't mention it anywhere in our holy scriptures about something he's done for us? No. Do you ever hear God reminding us of every little thing he's done for us? Every little small detail thing that he's done for us. He's done 1 billion good things for us. But do you see him remind you of all the little billions of things good for us he does in the holy scriptures? No. But you do see one thing that he reminds you to remember. Why does anyone remind anyone of anything? It's so you don't forget, right? So you don't forget. So why would God keep reminding you over and over again in our holy scriptures about only one event? Only one event. Freeing us from Egypt. Why? Because it is a big deal to God. It doesn't matter if it's a big deal to you or not. It's a big deal to God, to our God. And therefore, it's a big deal to us. So, I hope you can absorb that forever into your soul, that Passover is your day. It is not for the Yids. You know that the Yids are not Israelites. You know that white people are the Israelites. So why would you let the Yids be keeping Passover, defiling it in their own little stupid way, and you not overcoming their defiling of our holy day by honoring our holy day as intended, as the Lord intends you to do, functioning as you're intended to function for our holy Lord? Please him. Instead of him being sitting over here listening to all these people he hates, hollering at him on Sabbath, angering him to no end, instead, he's got you over here and all of the Seventh-day Adventists who aren't cucked, which would be very few of them, but keep in mind, all Seventh-day Adventists, even the cucked ones, are pleasing our Lord every seventh day. Okay? They're bringing their children to a church that holds its services on Sabbath and no other day, except maybe Wednesday or whatever. But, their primary day that they focus their whole lives around, Sabbath, Seventh-day Adventists revolve their whole life around Sabbath, exactly the way I'm hoping and praying that you folks will. Okay, if all of us became Seventh-day Adventists, something I've thought about, and another thing I thought about doing a video about, just one more thing I'm going to hop off topic about real quick here, is perhaps we should just commandeer the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's already the Sabbath-keeping church, the only one, other than the Church of Israel, Missouri, which is the only truly, fully perfect based church in our country right now that pleases God absolutely perfectly, keeping Sabbath every week, and it's a pro-white church. But aside from that, Seventh-day Adventist Church is the only church satisfying our God's fourth commandment every week. Okay? And while they are cucked right now and multi-culty, if all of our movement, if all pro-white people, one church at a time, you just go become a member, just walk into your local one, the closest one to you, you'll be surprised how close a Seventh-day Adventist church is to you. I would say within 6 city blocks of where you live, there is a Seventh-day Adventist church, believe it or not. And even if it's further away than that, it won't be more than a couple of miles max. I can guarantee you practically that. And you would have to live in a highly, highly rural area to have, if you live in any kind of city at all, you're within a couple of miles of a Seventh-day Adventist church. I live out in the middle of nowhere, and there are 3 out here. So I have 3 that I could try to infiltrate. I've never stepped foot in any of them. But guess what? They're all keeping our Lord's holy day. Tonight, they are all saying their Sabbath prayers, like we are going to together. And God is more pleased by them keeping our holy seventh day, his fourth commandment, thus completing all 10 commandments, obeying all 10 of God's commandments, not 9 of God's commandments, that they are blessed, regardless of their cuckery, regardless of the multi-culti cuckery. They are blessed. And they are blessed greater than you are blessed, unless you keep Sabbath every week. And your blessings from God will not come until you learn to accept and revolve your entire life and love the holy Sabbath, 7th day of every week. You cannot do it in some type of mechanical fashion. You can't be like, oh, well, God says I have to do it this day, not Sunday, so, I got to do it. It can't be like that in your heart. Remember when you shed your sins for the first time, your behavior, your old ways, your old self, and you surrendered your life to Jesus Christ? That is what you have to do to the 4th commandment. That is what you have to do to all of God's 10 commandments. You have to and remember, when you gave your life to Jesus Christ, when you repented of your sins to Jesus Christ and asked forgiveness and got baptized, I hope and pray, in water, submerged in the name of Jesus Christ, you did so willingly and happily. And when you came out of that water, a saved by Jesus Christ white person, your soul was joyful. Your soul was not, okay, I did it because I needed to. I had to check that off the list. Okay, baptism, done. Out of here. Getting out of the water now. You didn't feel like that. You didn't think like that. You got out of the water. You stood in that water. You perhaps hugged the pastor before you stepped out of the water. Or shook his hand. And as you stepped out of that water, you knew that you had just completed a portion of righteousness under your own volition and your own will. And it made you happy. It brought you joy. Okay, that is what loving our 7th day Sabbath every week is supposed to be. It's supposed to feel that way in your heart and soul. It's not supposed to be a bucket list thing. It's not supposed to be a quota mark that you have to check. It's a gift from God to you every week. You know the non-whites don't get that, right? They don't have a weekly gift from God. Only white people have that. That's what Sabbath is. It's a gift. It's a birthright. What happened to Esau? Because he despised or just could care less. He didn't have to despise his birthright. He didn't give two craps about it. He sold it for a bowl of soup. That's how much he thought of it. It was as cheap as one quick meal to him. You know what that caused? That caused God to hate Esau. God forbid, right now, just thinking about that. Could you imagine thinking or knowing that God hates you? Imagine if God actually hated you. Imagine if God had his hairs on you right now. Had arrows pointed straight at your dome. That's how the Jays live every day. Just so you know. And that's why they're so maniacal against us. But I'm talking about you right now. I'm not talking about the Jays. I'm talking about you. Imagine if you knew for a fact God hated you. Well, you want to know how you can cause that to happen? Keep stepping on his Sabbath. Keep disregarding your birthright. Keep disregarding the beautiful gift wrapped in the most beautiful gift wrapping paper that your eyes could ever behold, with glitter and reflective colors and radiance. It's the most inviting package, the most beautifully wrapped, the most beautiful wrapping paper on it. Package with the most big, beautiful bow on top your mortal eyes could ever absorb. And you're like, nah. Or, yeah, I can keep whatever day I want. You know, I say so. You know, I make the holy day, not God. Or, what difference does it make? Or, I keep God's Sabbath every week, every day. Or, Jesus is my Sabbath. Well, none of that is what God said. God said, but the seventh day of every week is holy unto you. Remember the seventh day and keep it holy. 6 days shall you work, but the seventh day, it's time to stop and reflect and admire and appreciate and give glory and thanks to our Holy Father for all of this. It's for you to go outside and show your children the flowers. Point at them. Show them. Point them out to your child. Say, look at these beautiful flowers God has made. Look at how fine. Look how delicate and sensitive, but perfect. Point out to your children the songs of the birds singing in the morning. Teach your children to be kind to our people. And teach them to overlook certain mistakes that our people make because they're white. And now I will come full circle back to the point I was bringing up earlier about God using deception and manipulation. I'm going to tie those two things together for you here as best I can so that you can understand what I'm trying to convey here. For you to be better with teaching our people, with influencing our people, with manipulating our people. When you see white people doing something wrong, committing a crime, let me just before I continue on, let me just say right now that I'm probably going to cause some of you to disagree with me. I think some of you already know where I'm about to go with this. But for those of you who still don't know what I'm getting at and are waiting and tapping your foot on me to get to what I'm getting at here, you may find disagreement with what I'm about to say. But this is obvious and this is necessary for our people, all right? When you see white people in public do things wrong, all right, you are automatically, because of being a white person, being a fellow white person, like they are, like the one committing a crime in front of you is. Because you're white, you have the law of God written on your heart. You don't need it in some founding document from our founding fathers. You don't need it in some constitution. That's just a piece of paper that our enemies wipe their ass with every day. Instead, you have it written on your heart. And so when you see white people, a white person, commit a crime, you immediately are inclined to point that person out or run that person down, tackle the person, capture the person, restrain the person, stop the person, point the person out to someone who can do those things to them. And again, you're probably not going to like what I'm going to say here, but I'm just going to get it out as best I can here. We need to learn to overlook mistakes of our own people, like the non-whites always and purposely do, and maliciously do, in an anti-white fashion, in a pro-Muzzy fashion, in a pro-black fashion, in a pro-Mexican fashion, in a pro-whatever fashion. They are tribal. They look out for one another. Am I telling you, when you see a white guy steal someone's car, don't call the police, or don't go, hey, that guy just stole that car, or whatever? No, I'm not necessarily saying that. What I'm saying is that we need to learn to be, this is probably one of the few things we could ever learn from the non-whites. We've got to learn to start being more patient. That's the word I'm looking for here. We've got to learn, and I'm just as guilty here, brothers and sisters. In fact, I would say I am probably, and y'all can probably tell by how edgy I sound when I do my videos, that I am one of the worst people about being hard against our people who are criminals, who are failures of our people, who are wiggers, who are anti-whites, lefty nutbags, anti-daddy, anti-Christ, anti-everything America of our people. I'm one of the toughest against them, toward them. So even I am going to have to learn, and will start consciously making, excuse me, I'm trying to burp again in the middle of talking. No, it sounded weird. I will myself also, and I have already been for the last year or so, couple years now, I guess it's been, trying to consciously be way more patient with our people. Why did I tie this in with God creating deception and evil? I'll try to get to that if I can remember to here in a minute. But let me continue on this one prong of this fork first. So, I guess what I mean by patience with our people here is that, and I know you all see this regularly. I'm going to unplug and get up out of this chair and pace a little bit so I can think a little clearer here. I think better when I pace. If I lose signal a couple of times, I apologize. And y'all, if I do, y'all point it out in the comments, and I'll try to look down and see. Just write something in capital letters so I'll notice it if it messes up. I'm sorry. I apologize that I have not finished getting to your comments. I will, if you just stick with me. I will read every one of your comments, okay? I promise you. I always do, right? So I will get to it. Let me just bear with me here if you don't mind. I just want to get some of these things out. It's been a long time since I got to talk to y'all. So much has happened. And I feel like I need to express some of these things, repeat some of these things, reiterate some of these things again before we do our Sabbath prayer tonight. And I hope that you folks who are interested in that really can put up with my long-windedness here in this subject matter and be able to stick it out so that you can stay here for the prayer. I really hope you do, because this prayer is going to show you how I pray. You're going to hear exactly how I pray, and I hope from my example of how I pray that it will inspire some of you to perhaps add a thing or two into your prayer that perhaps you may not have ever thought to include in your prayers before. I've touched on some of those things in other videos and streams, but you will hear how I pray my Sabbath prayer tonight, and so you will be able to hear basically the full thing in one complete package. And I hope that it's a blessing for some of you folks who have always kind of wondered in the back of your mind, are my prayers pleasing to the Lord? Are my prayers good enough, as people might think or say to themselves? Those types of thoughts, I'm sure, have ran through people's minds of our people before. So I figured, I already knew I was going to make a special Sabbath prayer tonight, thanking God for these bills. And let me just say in advance that since I do these streams on the fly, no notes, no anything, it's just me pacing back and forth on my porch talking to y'all, okay? I may forget something in my prayer. I may forget to mention the bills, which I have sitting here made the whole stream about, and I hope I don't. I hope I remember in my prayer to make my special thank yous to the Lord for these bills being passed. But since I do these things on the fly with no notes and everything, and I have billions of things, 6 million things running through my head at all times, it's very easy for me to suddenly forget about one of the things that I wanted to add in my discussion or my whatever. And in this particular case, it's going to be a prayer. So if I forget one of the things, I apologize, and y'all feel free to point it out in the comments if I do forget one. But it's been a while since I got to talk to y'all. I feel like I kind of owe y'all some time here of just giving you some updates about our faith and things I've been wanting to push our way toward our people. And so the prayer for the thanking the Lord for these bills being passed, that's what tonight's going to be for, and it's going to be a double banger because I'm also going to get to show folks how I pray, and I hope it blesses someone out there. So, but let's get back to this thing that I was talking about a minute ago about being tribal for our people before we get to the prayer. Another example. Let me give you another example about being patient with our people. Road rage. Our people are, and I'm bad about it too. I know a lot of us are. We're on edge. We have a lot going on. We are about order, and so when someone goes out of our white people's order in traffic, we take it to be a life-threatening thing. It could have killed us. It could have ran us off the road and killed us, or you take those reasonings in your mind, and you build up an anger against one of your own kind and start road raging them, perhaps. You're in a drive-through, waiting in line to pick your food up at the window, and you notice that some white folks in front of you are taking way too long, screwing up. They might even be scuzzbag, you know, don't keep themselves up well of our type or something, right? Be patient with them. Be patient. Don't bang your horn. Don't lean your head out the window and be like, freaking move. You've been there for 10 minutes. What's taking so long? Whatever it is. You're always inclined. White people are the first people to jump all over another white person who is causing other white people inconvenience in public, who is being inconsiderate of all the other people in public, who has clearly no self-awareness of their ridiculous actions in public in front of others. Please try your best to be patient with our people. You see a non-white acting up, let them have it. They're not even supposed to be here. So the more uncomfortable you make a non-white feel in our country, the better. Every non-white should feel very uncomfortable in our country. So we need to get it to that way. But for our people, okay, if a black sees another black run out of a store with a jacket, do you think that black's going to chase that other black down and be like, hey, brother, can't steal no jacket like that, man? And he ain't going to chase him down and take the jacket off the guy and take it to the store and give it back to them and keep the guy held there until the cops come arrest him. No. He's going to watch his, quote, brother running off with the stolen jacket out of the store, and he's going to look the other way. That's what he's going to do. He's going to look the other way. Or he's going to pull his phone out and go, yeah, brother, world star, man, run, bro. Ooh, he's going to cheer him on. Now, I'm not telling you to cheer on at all any incorrect activity or behavior by our people. What I said, and I'm going to say it again so I'm clear, is please be patient with them. Don't be so quick to jump down the throat of our people who are messing up. You see a white guy in traffic, he's swerving, whatever. You suspect he might be a drunk driver, but you see plain as day it's a white man. It's not a Mexico, it's not a whoever. If it's a white person, do what you can to get them to pull over gently. Don't be rude. Be kind. Be concerned. Not in an overly concerned way. That may offend them and make them mad at you. But just be patient. Somehow or another, use your own intellect. Use your own God-assigned and God-given IQ to know how to be patient with our people, okay? It's just as much of a challenge for me as it will be for some of you folks. Some of you are probably already masters of being patient with our people. I have met some personally. Maybe not from viewers of my channel, I'm saying, but I have met white people of our people who are very patient with our people. And I aspire to be like those people. I wish I was as soft-spoken and kind-hearted toward the F-ups of our people as other white men I know have been. And women. I know women who are just as patient, if not more, than the most patient of white men that I've ever known. So I'll give the ladies even more credit in that field. And that makes sense. That is their department. That is where they are the superstars. Women are the superstars of that department of compassion and patience and nurturing of our people. And so that is why our women excel at being the best nurses and being the best caretakers. And actually, some of our women are excellent surgeons. And I mean excellent with a capital E. And I know firsthand that because I watched a friend of mine be repaired by a woman surgeon who he had already been left very scarred and uglified by a male surgeon, a man surgeon, and it was a white man. And he did not do my friend well. And years later, my friend had a problem again because that man did not do his job correctly. And a woman redid his job. A white woman, of course, redid that man's surgical work. And not only did she find his error that he completely missed and did not fix whatsoever after all that invasive surgery, so she fixed what he failed to find and fix, but she also repaired the horrific, massive, fugly scar that he had been left with, that was wrecking his emotions and his self-esteem. He felt so ugly, he would never wear a shirt anymore. Bless his heart. And because of a white woman surgeon, with her precision of her hands, with the delicacy of the motions required for such highly precise surgical procedures, she not only found what the white man did not find, but the white woman totally fixed my friend and then got rid of, and I don't know how she did it, but she got rid of his entire horrific looking scar. It was the size of, imagine your pinky finger. Imagine a scar looking like your pinky finger, being as big as your pinky finger and running, 10 inches across your stomach. You know what I mean? Sticking out like that. Like a mountain range. It looked like an Appalachian mountain range going across this guy's stomach. And now, thanks to that lady, he has a pencil thin, I'm talking like you took a pencil and just drew one line across his same part of his stomach. Literally, she gave him a razor thin pencil line scar. Absolute precision. It looks heavenly compared to what he originally was left like by one of our white men. So, women, your nurturing and compassion and patience, that is right up our women's alley. So there are many women who will excel at being patient with our people. But the big problem is our men. Our men, we are edgy. We're already on edge because we're always never relaxing because we can't. We're surrounded on all sides now. So it's hard to relax because you can't. We already say never relax because unless you're at home out in the woods away from them all, you're probably around them. And so our white men are under an enormous stress load, ladies. I just, please understand that about us. Yes, you are the primary prey, but we are the primary target that's supposed to be standing in the way of you, which is the prey. And so our men are very critical of each other. And the more pro-white and more based you become, the more angered you get at seeing any of our white men breaking our God's laws, acting like a wigger, being despicable in any way, living like a lowlife. It angers us because we see how much effort we have to put forth just to eat and live and have a place to sleep at night. And then to see this other white guy just being a total F-bag, and just being just a waste of oxygen, in our world. It's very, very troubling and frustrating and disheartening and angry to our based white men. So, and white people in general just get angry. We're an on edge, high speed, high functioning people. And we are quick to anger. Why do you think we need so much scripture to teach us to be patient with each other, to teach us to love our neighbor, which means our kindred people? Doesn't mean the non-whites who invade your country and hate your guts. It means to love your own kind. It means to love that white guy who's taken too long in front of you at the drive-thru. You gotta love your own people enough that since you see that he's a white guy, because you can see through his back window and tell he's a white guy, that it's time for you at that moment to be patient. Let the white person have their win. Let them get theirs. Okay? You get yours. Let the other white people of ours get theirs. Okay? If getting theirs means inconveniencing you a little longer in the drive-through, let them have it. They're white. They belong here. Right now, we're under this massive problem where we have 220 million plus invaders in our country who do not belong here. Most of them here, quote, legally, by the way, and they do not belong here. So, we already have enough of a problem. We don't need to add more to our problem by being super ultra critical of the leftovers, the remnant of our people who are not saved yet. Those are the ones Jesus Christ came to save. Now, there are going to be ones who are militant against us, who hate Jesus Christ, hate God. Some of our people are so far gone, no matter how much patience you have, you're going to watch them drive off in the distance and destroy themselves. And I'm not telling you that you have to intervene with those people. What I'm saying is that while you're interacting with them, while you're being inconvenienced by them, while you're observing them messing up, if it's not causing harm to one of our people, all right? If it's not an attack on our people, if it's not something despicable, all right? If it's just something as simple as the white guy, did a U-turn where there's no U-turn. There's no need to bang your horn at the guy because the sign right there says no U-turn, a-hole. It doesn't matter that he did the U-turn. It didn't affect your life. It didn't hurt you. It didn't cause a crash. It didn't put any white person at threat of harm. Let it go. Don't bang your horn at him. Just because the sign says no U-turn, a-hole, and stuff like that. I see our white people correcting, policing other white people all the time. And if you think about the story of Christ, where they wanted the harlot stoned, and he looked at each of the Jews. Now, granted, he wasn't dealing with our people at that moment. He was dealing with Jays. But one of those people in the group perhaps could have been a white person, like Paul. But he was a Jay. He was a Pharisee. And so he even called himself a Jay, mistakenly, like some of our people sometimes call themselves part Indian. He was just saying he was a Jay, but he was saying it in a way of meaning, I'm a Pharisee. I'm an anti-white white, And so a real Pharisee was a Jay, an anti-white Jay, because all Jays are anti-whites. But he was saying, I'm the same thing. I might be white, I'm an Israelite, but I'm a Jay, I'm a Pharisee, because I'm working against the whites. I'm working against Israel. And I'm working against Israel on behalf of supposedly being an elder of Israel, which is how the Jays operate. That's their modus operandi. So, when you get the picture, you get my point. I'm sure I have gotten across now what I'm trying to get at with you is that, sometimes it's you who is in the way. Sometimes you're holding up another white person with your own not togetherness in a situation. Oh, crap, it was right here in my pocket. Where is it? And you got 5 people standing in line behind you, tapping their foot, waiting to pay and leave. But you're standing in the front holding them all up because you can't find whatever it was. Where's your credit card? It was right in my wallet, I thought, and checking your pockets, and you're holding everyone up. Some white person behind you could be like, come on, man, if you ain't ready, man, get out of line. We got stuff to do, And so that's how white people are. We're very impatient with our own, okay? And I've done it myself. I've seen others do it right in front of me. I see it all the time in traffic, done by others. And so we already have enough conflict coming at our people as is, and we already have enough conflict among our own people against ourselves. against each other. Our lefties versus our civnat cucked righties, and really they're all on the same team without realizing it. And then all of them are really on the same team against us. And so we have all these different factions, and then we got punks who don't like jocks, and we got jocks who don't like emos, and emos who don't like jocks, and we got, wiggers who don't like either one, and we got, it's all this, there's such a huge cluster of different groups of our people who have fraternized in different ways, that so many of our different groups are in conflict with one another at random moments or at all times, that we already have so much conflict in our people and among our people that there really is no reason to include more by being overcritical of each white person you interact with who perhaps is inconveniencing you, or being inconsiderate of the whole public of people around, things like that. Now, if you want to still be overly critical to the invaders, like I said, go for it, because we need to start openly being bossy with our country again. We need to start bossing these invaders around. They have broke into your house. They're in your living room. This country is your living room. They're in your living room. They broke through the living room window, and they are now standing in your living room. No need to be polite to them. Why would you be polite to them? Would you tell them, oh, go get something out of the fridge, help yourself. You want to have a seat on the couch, change channel if you like, whatever, put on whatever you like? No. Instead, you treat them like the invader they are, the burglar they are, the one that just broke into your window and is standing in your living room. You're supposed to make that dude feel that he doesn't belong there. You're supposed to kick that dude out. You're supposed to make that dude go, dang, I need to get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? You're supposed to make them feel uncomfortable. They need to feel like they don't belong here, because they don't. And if you always treat them with super like, oh, wow, Jorge, hey, man, good to see you, bro. Well, you're never going to make them feel uncomfortable. Okay? So be critical when you see the non-whites act out in public. When you see a non-white inconveniencing someone in public, you're going to have to do so with caution, because they have a green light to attack you, and they have a get out of jail free card now. You do not. So you're going, and ladies, please don't, this is only advice for my white men, okay? Not for you ladies. I don't want you ladies, y'all need to stay the heck away from non-whites. Stay as far away from non-whites as you possibly can, and don't ever speak to them. Unless you just have to. You know what I mean? You walk up to the counter, crap, it's a Jorge. Well, I guess you got to say something, hello, or whatever. Oh, thank you, as you get your ticket or your receipt and leave. But other than that, don't say anything to them. Definitely don't be mouthing off at them, because you're a lady, okay? And they have no reserve for attacking you or white women. They envy you. You're the envy of the entire world. And you're the prey of the entire world, and so you're the last person on earth that should be mouthing off to the non-whites or correcting them in any way of their incorrect behaviors in public. It needs to be white men to do so, okay? And it's not going to be safe for all of our white men to do so either. A lot of our white men may get attacked by being critical. I can tell you all kinds of stories where I've angered, certain blacks or certain whoever's in public, because they were acting up or being inconsiderate of everyone else, holding everyone else up. I spoke up. They flipped out. I didn't care. We got in each other's face. It was on if it wanted to be, but they didn't want to throw, so it didn't happen. And we moved on. But I said my piece. I made them pissed off. They went home upset at the white man, telling me what to do. Yeah, you damn right, because you're in my country. And you don't belong here, and you're screwing up, and you're messing up everyone else's day. So yeah, now your day is messed up. That particular one I just mentioned, I'll tell you the story one day, but that particular one that I upset just one random time was holding everyone up. And I said something, and he flipped out, and I was like, let's do it right now. And he didn't want any. And so but he went home that night, I know for a fact. That dude got in his car, and the whole way home, cracker ass, punk ass, cracker, talking to me like that, saying every bad thing. I was in that dude's head for a week, guaranteed. And guaranteed every black dude he knows that he ended up hanging out at the Kona stove with the rest of the week, he told them about, this punk ass blonde old cracker gonna tell me the other day. He was this gigantic dude, like 7 foot black dude. And, I'm not scared of somebody that's a little taller than me. So I was like, I was just comfortably telling him, what needed to happen, that he needed to get the heck out of the way. And, it turned into a big conflict. And all the white people in the store were scared to death. Granted, this is the only black guy in our whole neighborhood. First black guy ever shows up. First black guy ever shows up in our Piggly Wiggly, and he starts to fight. So that's that is, the way we have to be. We have to make them feel uncomfortable, and we have to be patient with our own people. That's the way they treat their people. Okay? If an Indian lady sees an Indian girl shoving a 12-pack under her dress and waddling out of the store, do you think she runs over to the clerk and goes, hey, this lady over here that's Indian just like me, that wears the same weird clothes I do and thinks the same way I do and is everything just like me? Yeah, I just watched her stick a 12-pack under her dress and waddle out. You think she's going to do that? Am I telling you not to snitch on a thief? No, I'm not telling you not to snitch on a thief. I realize that's probably a bad example, because giving you that example literally is like seeming like I'm encouraging you to look past a white thief, but I'm not. What I mean is just use your discernment, okay? Use your discernment. If it's not despicable, if it does not harm our people, if it's just inconveniencing someone, and it's just being inconsiderate, that's the things I'd like us to learn to be more patient with our people about. All right, that's all. And sorry it took so much discussion and chat to finally express all that, but it's not as simple as just saying be patient. I need to explain it to people like whose minds run wild and they're too open-minded to understand how to narrow that down. So now that we've gotten past that, let's go ahead and do our Sabbath prayers. Oh, funny enough, it has, well, no, still got an hour. Has it been an hour on here? Yeah, it's been 2 hours. Wow, longest 5 minutes in a while. So still got an hour till our neighbors hit Sabbath, but it's technically should be dark all the way across the country, so we should technically be in Sabbath anyway, all the way across America at least. And let me get back to the chat here, since I did not complete the chat. And I'm going to try not to do a rant on anyone's comments. I'm just going to read the comments. I know I say that sometimes and then still do it, but this time I'm really going to try. I'm just going to read the comments, agree, and move along, and then that way we can get to the prayer, okay? Or I'll try to do super little short answers if I can. Ooh, wow, I've missed a lot of comments. Oh my gosh, y'all, I'm sorry. Oh, not that many though. Okay, cool. It's not as backed up as I thought. My bad. And this goes back to Unknown's comment about how every other race has biological sense of racial consciousness except us. That is why we don't have a connection to our people. Our white people see another one messing up. We don't think for that split second. Is that one of my kind that I need to be more patient with and link and understand better? Or is this an invader? We don't do that split second process. A lot of our people don't. And we need to do that. That way we can hopefully take a breath and simmer ourselves down before we interact with the white person who's messing up. Deborah McGee said, oh wait, woo, I'm way past that. Let me scroll on down here. Okay, so I haven't missed a whole lot. That's good. Let's see, where did I'm almost there. Almost there, y'all. Okay. I had finished with Deborah McGee saying, man, we have sure lost our way, which is true. And yeah, said, There's apparently a lot of Spaniard surnames in France. Now, this is all the way back when I was discussing how your last names and heraldry and last names could come from different countries. Wow, so I am way behind time-wise in the chat. Unknown said, don't forget conservative rhetoric when they observe anti-whiteness on display. They'll say things like, oh, not all white people are racist. Please accept us, black people, because not all of us are like this. Yeah, absolutely. It's disgusting, it's sickening, and that's actually what he put next. He put it's sickening, and that's absolutely true. I 100% agree. That's exactly what it is. Makes me sick to hear them say it too and see them writing it in the comment sections and stuff. And most often that's when I end up with my 24-hour ban from YouTube, is because those are the type of people who I put a pretty potent comment against. And then wouldn't you know, it's the conservatives who usually report my comment to YouTube, while they're the ones who supposedly don't want censorship and don't want YouTube censoring us and all this stuff. They're the first ones who will report you if you speak against the yids and their cuckery for them, or you speak against blacks and their cuckery for them. 100% true. Unknown also said Trump passed a bill against anti-noses in 2019, but our people have pedantically put him on a pedestal like he did anything for us in 4 years, even though he did more for blacks than us in those 4 years. 100% true. And the hook-nosed people, obviously he means, and he did more for the hook-nosed people and the blacks than he did for us. Obviously, since he's a puppet who's playing his role as controlled opposition, that's 100% true. That is my observation also, along with many others who have seen. I mean, results speak for themselves. He hired nothing but swamp. His whole campaign was drain the swamp. First thing he does when he gets in office, hires nothing but swamp. He's a lifelong registered leftist who's friends with everyone that all the conservatives are against. Jeffrey Epstein, the Clintons, all these people. They were all his buddies. They're all his buddies, so they still are his buddies. They were his buddies, so they still are his buddies. There was no sudden breakup because he ran Republican. All Democrats run as Republicans. All Republicans are folks who used to be Democrats. Same goes for Reagan. He was a Hollywood actor, a Hollywood leftist actor that just ran as a Republican. Gave California to the Mexicans. Turned California permanently blue, ruining it forever. So, gave amnesty, as they call it, which that will be abolished immediately once we take over our country. And all citizenship of any non-white will be revoked immediately, and all non-whites will be removed from our country immediately upon the day we take control of our country again. But yes, that's 100% true what you were saying there, sir. They pander to the hook nose and blacks, and so did and Trump did, and all of our people are just so cucked about him. It's ridiculous. And it sucks because Trump's colors of Christ, blonde hair, blue-eyed. He's mega rich, mega famous. Everyone, wishes they were like him, and the whole thing, right? And he's, the white man, like the dream white man, that everybody aspires to be, or everybody wishes they could be, of the other races and the other, everything, and even like poor whites and stuff like that. And so it's unfortunate because I don't want to be against a white man running in our presidency who's the colors of Christ, who says America first, and the media is fake news, which is owned by the Jays, and all these things. I don't want to have to be against him. I don't. I want to be like all these other cucked white people and have a Trump picture on my back window because it makes all the non-whites sitting in traffic behind me mad as hell to see that Trump's face sitting there on my back window, and Trump 2024 or whatever on my back window. Man, I'd love to have all that and be trolling the non-whites with it. While he was president, I grew out my hair longer, and I was combing my hair like Trump just to aggravate non-whites everywhere I went. Not even making that up. I literally wore Trump hair or Uncle A hair, and I still do my hair like Uncle A every day now. That's how I do it. And funny enough, ladies like it. I, yeah, I don't know what to say other than I couldn't believe how decent people treat me with that haircut. Like I thought I was going to be hated all over the place everywhere I went. Instead, I get treated really nice everywhere I go, and sometimes like surprisingly, really, I get treated really extra nice, even sometimes by non-white females. So like ones you wouldn't expect, like black females, will like totally be super nice to me. They're staring at my haircut. So something about Uncle A's haircut, it actually works with the ladies. I'm not making that up. And if you have the hair for it, get your hair styled like Uncle A. It's gonna feel weird at first to do it that way. And you're gonna look at yourself in the mirror and go, man, this is crazy to go outside like that. People are gonna like hate on me. Or, something. You're gonna feel like it's ballsy to do. But I promise you, just start rocking your hair like Uncle A and people will respect. It's the weirdest thing. It's like everybody loves Uncle A's haircut. I promise you, try it out. You'll get more positive reaction from that haircut than you will any other haircut you do with your hair. Guaranteed. I'm not even making that up. It's not exaggerating or making that up in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, moving on. Deborah McGee said, I've been trying hard for the past few years to keep Passover. People look at me like I have a disease when I explain to them that I'm not doing Easter. Well, it's their own fault, you're going to have that because of their lack of understanding and knowledge. But remember what happens to our people when they lack knowledge. Christ already said they are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So you don't want to be destroyed. If they got to be destroyed because of their lack of knowledge, all you can do is tell them. And if they won't accept, you have cleared yourself of their blood. So, Unknown said, what's your thoughts on Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus, who was revered by Catholics? Well, that's a good question because nobody's actually ever asked me what I think about Mary. I don't really think much more of her than she was the mother of Christ. Now, I don't want to make that sound like it's negative or demeaning in any way. I would honor her the same as I honor any woman, but I give her additional honor because she is the one chosen by God to birth Christ. So I think that Mother Mary does have a higher, I would say she's probably the most blessed woman that ever lived. Who else could ever be more blessed than the woman who gave birth to the Savior of our world, our people? But what has happened is the Jays, when they took over the Roman Catholic Church back in 40 AD, they created these things like worshiping saints, worshiping Mother Mary. After all, without her, there'd be no Jesus, right? But that's not true. God would have picked another woman, and Jesus would have been born anyway. So, the way they revere Mother Mary, I totally disagree with. I don't think statues should be erected of her, and she should be prayed on like she's a god. But as far as honoring her, like if America had a national Mother Mary's Day or Mother of Jesus Christ, day, or a Mother Mary Day honoring her, I would honor it along with my people and my country, and I would find that fully agreeable because she is the woman that God chose. Remember, it ain't like she just accidentally had Jesus Christ. God picked her. And don't we... okay, here's what I should have said earlier when I was saying that I don't think of her any more than any other woman kind of thing. I didn't mean it like that. What I should have worded better is I should have said, I think of her like I respect her like I respect all of our godly men. I respect her equal with, say, Moses or Noah. And that might freak somebody out in the chat. Like, whoa, man, you're honoring a woman as much as the godly men, the most important godly men of the Bible? Yes, because again, remember, None of those men were the one picked by God to carry Jesus Christ as an infant in her belly for 9 months, and then go through birthing pains and give birth to the Savior of our world and Redeemer of our people, the only reason we'll ever be able to live again. She is special because God picked her to be special. And God picked Noah to be special. God picked Abraham to be special. He picked, you can go down through the list. You could pick all the different ones God picked along the way. Job, whoever. And oh my gosh, I was about to fall out from not having a drink. So sorry, I had to stop mid-sentence to get a drink now. And so I do think of her. I highly revere her, just as high as I think of Noah and all the other godly men of the Bible. Do I put her on an elevation above them? I can't say yes or no to that. I would say I think of her equally across the board with all godly people. But I do give her an extra little bit of side, no, I don't want to say little bit, an extra great deal of side bonus for being the mother of the Savior of the world. After all, she had to teach Jesus Christ when he was little. She had to be his mother. She had to nurse him. She had to do all the things a mother does for her child. And she obviously did an excellent job. Right? So, excellent mother for the most excellent mortal that walked the earth, our Savior. So, but I don't believe in making statues of her and worshiping her instead of Christ and things like that. And I'm sure you probably are along those lines in some way. Perhaps not, but I imagine you are. Patrick Fitzgerald asked Deborah McGee, did you get my message I sent to you about a week ago? Okay, well, I guess I could skip that stuff, but about your cousin having a baby, she asked. Okay, so let's get on to Unknown here. He said, or they view racial consciousness through a black lens instead of their own, like cockerels. Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. They have lenses they look through because it's more agreeable for them. Obviously, since they are tribal, they're going to always, look through everything through their own race's lens only. Indians are never going to try to look at the world through a black's point of view. You hear them stupid sayings like, oh, try to walk a mile in her shoes. Yeah, that's a white concept. Only white people would spend enough of their time to actually have the empathy to consider what it's like to have to suffer in someone else's position in life. Only white people do that. That's a concept only white people do. There is no Indian or Asian sitting around going, man, imagine what would it be like? They don't sit there and ponder how it would be to be a black lady or a black dude or I didn't mean to say lady. I apologize, ladies. They don't care what it's like, how it would be to be a suffering Nicaraguan in Nicaragua. There's no Chinese guy over in China, feeling sorry for poor El Salvadorians, and he sits at home and just ponders for hours about how terrible it must be to be a poor El Salvadorian. There's no such thing as that kind of mental, I don't even know what to use. I know there's a word for it, but it's like, there's probably several words for that type of behavior, but it's like a mental, it's almost like mental abuse on yourself to sit there and put yourself in the shoes of some other thing. You would think it's noble and it actually helps you have better perspective and you might learn something, whatever. But really, it's almost a form of mental abuse. It's that you've got nothing better going on at that moment as a white person, which you should have something better going on at that moment. But instead, you have nothing better going on at that moment as a white person than to sit around and ponder what it must be like to be someone less than yourself, fortunate-wise. Am I saying don't feel bad for sick children and poor people and all this. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the idea of sitting around and pondering and deep thoughting and having all this time for philanthropy is not a white person thing. It's a white person only thing, actually, but it's not beneficial to our people. Okay, philanthropy becomes anti-whiteness. Philanthropy is what allowed the Jays to infect all of our white institutions and use them. They use our churches now. They use all of our churches' food banks to feed all the invaders. As soon as they get in the country, the first place they go is to our churches. Not just the Catholic churches. They're going to those, but they're also going to regular Protestant Christian churches. And all over this country, our Christian churches are just funneling pounds, millions of pounds of food and sustenance, diapers for all these invaders that freshly showed up like yesterday. The same ones you want kicked out immediately that should never have come here, who are not even supposed to be allowed to be on our soil, are the ones that our churches are giving food and diapers to at their food banks. Okay? And everything white people do it works against themselves. White people almost never do anything for ourselves anymore. Yeah, we build ourselves buildings so we can live in and work in. Yeah, we build inventions and cool things so we can sell them to make money to keep our living going. But we don't just build a public swimming pool for our white people anymore. For just white children we don't even know to get that live in the area to get to swimming, you know? And you can say, well, it's because the non-whites will come there and ruin it. Correct. That's why white people don't build nice things for ourselves anymore, because we know that the non-whites will just take it over and ruin it. Pool's closed, you know? That whole scenario will just happen over and over and over again, whether it's a mall, whether it's a drive-in theater, whether it's a, you know, somebody tried to build a drive-in theater not long ago in some state. I forget where it was. I read about it somewhere that some state, whoever was trying to start a drive-in theater. And the locals in the area were totally cool with it. He picked a nice white community, which almost doesn't exist anymore, suburb out in the middle of nowhere, where only these white people out in the middle of nowhere could enjoy it. And the Jays got wind of that. And that's not the official story, but that's what I could figure out from the story, was that the Jays, some organization of the Jays, got wind of this, that Whitey was out having, you know, old-time Whitey fun, like drive-in theaters and stuff, pre-blacks world, pre-non-white invaders world, out in the country. So they made a big stink about it with the EPA, saying, oh, you shouldn't have all this driving with all these cars congregating together, and they could just run their engines. Even though you tell them to leave the engines off, they could just ignore that and leave them running the whole time. And so you'd have all these cars sitting there just burning all kinds of carbon in the air just to watch a movie. And so there was a stink about it, and the project never came to be, you know? So, and I know it was probably because of that, you know, that Jayish organization making the big stink and everything. And so we have to learn to be tribal like they are. All right. If that thing had benefited Jays, or if Jays could have figured out a way to make that beneficial to them more so than anyone else, it would be up and running right now. But because they don't benefit from it, and because only white people out in the middle of nowhere who lived in their nice, peaceful rural community were going to enjoy it, that can't be allowed. All right. But if our people had been tribal enough at the time when the resistance came, they could have been like, hey, screw you. This is our area. You're not even from this state, probably. You're probably from some other state, and you just blew into town to be anti-white against us and our things we're doing. So screw you. Get out of our town. Get out of our state. Get out of our country. Piss off. We're white people, and we do white people things, and we made this only for white people. We didn't make this for your invaders to come over, that you bring over here, to come over and ruin. Okay? So get lost. This is our space. And since we didn't do that, since no one's done that, well, things like that, nice things that we used to enjoy, can't exist. By the way, drive-in theaters were also closed down because white people created lots of babies at drive-in theaters. And guess who doesn't want lots of white babies being created? The yitty diddlers. So guess what they had to do? Ban drive-in theaters. That's part of why the whole climate change from cars hoax came in the first place. They had to demonize cars. So, because that's what are used in the drive-ins for white women like hotcakes to be getting pregnant, you know? So that's what the drive-in theater was, literally a white people baby making machine. That's what that was. And the Jays understood this. So they said, we have to demonize first automobiles so that we can then demonize the drive-in theaters that they park the automobiles at, that they have their sex inside to have the babies, to make the babies. So that is why drive-in theaters and cars were both demonized, because those are the combination of the two, the white person car and the white person drive-in theater, created millions of white children that would have perhaps not have been born otherwise. So we got to balkanize sooner than later. And once we balkanize, we're going to have to start building our own things. And we're going to have to exclude the non-whites. It's going to have to say that we are discriminating. We are excluding. This is an exclusive space. No non-whites are allowed. And it's going to have to say all those things in plain words. No beating around the bush, conservative. Oh, well, this is only for us Christians who are, only Mormons or only whatever. No cuckery. It's going to be, hey, only whites. This is a whites only place. Period. Dot. It has to be worded that way. It has to be told to non-whites that way when they try to force their way into our thing that we've created. Let me give you an example of why it can't work any other way. This thing in New Orleans, not New Orleans, Louisiana. There's a thing in Louisiana, Baton Rouge area, is so ruined by blacks that the white people there are fed up with their daughters being attacked and raped every day, their sons being beat to death every day in the schools, that they've all moved to another part of town, the north, I believe it is, part of town. And so the south side is all the blacks. The north side is where the white people with enough money have escaped up and done white flight up to and made suburbs up there, brand new suburbs up there. They've created their own school. They've created their own everything up there for their white children. And they successfully seceded, or however you want to call that, separated from the other half of the city, where they don't have to contribute their tax money to that side. They can keep their tax money on their side. They can put it into their community only, and they don't want any kids from the south side bust into their community, to their school. And so you're thinking, great, that's exactly what we need to do. They're doing it right. That's perfect, but it's not. And here's why. Because they're doing it the conservative way. They welcomed every one of those blacks that lives in the south side. Oh, if you want, just move over to our side. Oh, you promise you're going to be a well-behaving black that acts like white people? You promise you're going to decorate yourself up in white people's clothes and act like white people every day? Come on over to our side. They don't even ask them any of that. They just welcome them. They just say, it's kind of like white people went, hey, this bad side of the town over here just sucks. So we built this new side of town over here. It's much nicer. Y'all come on over. Well, guess what happens when you invite the Nogs over from the south side to your brand new area that you just built to escape them? They're going to immediately come there, because anywhere white women are, that's where blacks want to be. You don't think the blacks are going to happily go, hell yeah, brand new nice white neighborhood, you're going to let me come over here? Heck yeah. They're all going to go over there. So in 6 months to a year, well, who knows how long it'll take, because since they're so proud of their little achievement they've had, white people that have accomplished that separation there are going to live in denial for a while as they allow more and more blacks into the area, and their area immediately becomes more and more ruined. They're going to refuse to, just like all conservatives do, they're going to refuse to accept that their idea was stupid for allowing the non-whites there, and their cuckery has caused them to defeat their own project's purpose. They're going to ignore that they screwed that up. And they're going to just pretend that blacks aren't ruining their neighborhood that they just freaking built to escape them, you know? And so who knows how long it'll take before that place is completely officially ruined, but it won't take long. I promise you that. They've already allowed some to move there, and they're welcoming as many blacks that want to move there as possible. So pretty soon the entire south side that they moved away from to escape is going to live in the new north side with all of them, and therefore utterly erasing the entire point of their whole effort and all the money they invested. A lot of these white people pulled hundreds of thousands. Some of these white people pulled millions of dollars out of their own family's money. That money could have went to their children's future. That money could have went to their grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Instead, they sacrificed it away, trying so hard to move their immediate family to a safe place, escape the others, yada, yada, yada. And then what do? Out of your own cuckery and imaginary shame and guilt of yourself that you shouldn't have, and your pandering and cuckery, you invite the ones you escaped to come over with you. How retarded and stupid is that? Anyway, let me move on here. Patrick Fitzgerald and Deborah McGee chatting back and forth. And then Deborah said, "Stay white. I need to aspire to be more nurturing toward our non-screw-ups, much less our screw-ups." Great, excellent, wonderful point you just brought up there. I did not even mention the ones who don't screw up. As an amazing, excellent observation there. I probably would have never even thought to have mentioned them. But how could we not forget to be kind and patient with our most well-behaved of our people who are living upright and correct? Those are the ones that you should absolutely go above and beyond with your hardest efforts to be very patient with. And I struggle with that as well. I'm sure many of you folks might 100% agree with that. A very excellent observation that needed to be highlighted. Thank you very much for that, Deborah. That needed to be pointed out. She also said, "Patience is not a strong virtue I have. Please pray for me in that area." Very well. We certainly will, and you know, and God hears your prayers about that. You know, He will hear your prayer about that. And honestly, the effort isn't as difficult as you imagine. You know, just keep this discussion tonight in your mind when something pops up in front of you that suddenly causes you to be upset about minor inconvenience. You know what I mean? Unknown said, "Damn, I gotta go and change this phone but enjoyed this stream. I probably come back on another account maybe. God bless you, stay white, and the brothers and sisters on this stream. And remember to stay white and not be blackwashed. Peace." God bless you, sir. And again, you know, since this is going to be public and hopefully not get taken down by the yiddy diddlers, you'll be able to catch up with the rest of the stream that you might have missed tonight by just tuning back in and watching the rest. So it will be public as soon as this is over for you to refinish on your own time. Forza Blanquito is here, and he said, "Based." Well, God bless you for noticing and stopping by and letting us know that you are in agreement. We appreciate you, sir, for your chiming in. Doc Holiday, Jack, is here, y'all. Say hello, everyone. And he said, "No, only white people." Exactly. That's exactly what it has to be every time. James Thomas said, "The altruistic nature of whites makes us vulnerable to being taken advantage of." That's absolutely true. Our nicety is our cuckery. Our politeness, our kindness is thought of as sucker. They think of us as suckers. when we're polite to invaders, in their mind, they're like, I can't believe I'm standing in this dude's living room, broken glass all around me. He's catching me red-handed standing here. Julio standing here. Jorge standing here. Tyrone standing here in this dude's country. He makes weapons and choppers. His people make aircraft carriers and submarines and torpedoes and lasers that could kill me from all the way across the world with precision, pinpoint accuracy. But this idiot just lets me stand here. And he's even being polite to me. He just opened the freaking door for me to get in the store. You know? They think of us as absolute idiots. Absolute, total sucker idiots. That's what they think of us as. And let's see. Yeah, chimed in and said, Jays hate cars so much. That's absolutely right. They do. When they look at a car, to them, that means white people have freedom of mobility. And every time they see a car, they know that white people used to make millions of babies in the back seats of them. And a lot of our white people still get down in our cars with our ladies. So they know that, and they do despise them because of that. Anything that helps produce white children, they hate it. Appreciator said, TND. I don't know what that means. I think I did know what that means at some point. Now I don't. So I'm sorry that I don't know what that means. Doc Holiday said based as F. Well, I'm not sure what I said or what somebody typed in here that made you respond, but yeah, most everything around getting thrown around here is based, so agreed. Then Unknown chimed in. He said, we got to learn martial arts to protect ourselves from non-whites, especially blacks mainly, and not practice white flight due to moral cowardice. But then again, the systemic racism on us is burdensome. And so it's logical just to move away from the area. Although, again, we should fight back and not back down from freighting on Bantus and other non-whites. I 100% agree. Your observation is absolutely 100% accurate. We have, because we have the law of God written on our hearts, that constrains us to playing by rules, okay, that we have set based on our God's rules. And so to come full circle again with what I mentioned earlier about God creating deception and God creating evil, which I hate to have to say it that way, but that is what it is. He says it with his own mouth in our Bible. You can read where he says it himself, that God, create evil. It's because evil has to exist or there can't be any good. We would already be just a gray mud if there was no good and no evil. And there would be nothing in existence unless God creates it. So evil has to be created by God. And some people are like, oh, I would never attribute evil to God. God, everything God makes is beautiful and perfect. Satan's who creates evil stuff. No, Satan wouldn't even exist without God. Nothing exists without God's hand and say-so. Even the mongrels of this world, God knew that they would exist. God plans on destroying them all. But it's just like when you start a garden, okay? You know that weeds are going to grow in your garden. Why? Because you're going to have topsoil. You're going to have fertilizer. You're going to add extra food. You're going to be watering that thing every day. Well, guess what? Parasites know where to find good stuff. They're a scavenger. They go roaming the earth to and fro, and when they find a nice source of easy water, a nice source of easy food, or plentiful amount of food, whether it's a little difficult to get or not, they're going to latch on, and they're going to stay as long as they can. Eat from the host as long as they possibly can, until they either kill the host, right? Or the host realizes one day that they're infected with this parasite and rids themselves of it. And once they do that, then the parasite has to either move along, find some other host to live off of, or die. We all understand this about parasites, the Jays, the Nons. We understand that's how they operate. And so it's logical and expected that they would basically try to always have access to wherever we exist to try to mooch off us. First, it starts off begging us. They start off as beggars. That's why you can't have sympathy and try to cherry pick, like, oh, I know a so-and-so non-white and he's cool. I hate that he's going to have to leave too. He should be allowed to stay. No, he shouldn't, because his kids will grow up to hate us, or his grandkids will grow up to hate us. His kids will be job thieves, taking jobs from white people just because he exists here and needs a job. Any job he takes, he stole from a white person. There's a white person sitting at home right now twiddling their thumbs while there are Mexicans working right now at the convenience store, at the FedEx distribution center, at the whatever, Walmart. Non-whites, particularly the blacks, are working all of our high school children's jobs, all the fast food joints, all the simpleton, it's only for a 16-year-old to be doing jobs. That's where all the black women work. Or females work, not women. Apologize, women, my fault. That's where all the black females work. And then they throw a fit to white people after having free food, EBT, free house to live in, free car to drive, free everything, free birth of their kids, free earned income credit, which is the most hilarious oxymoronic statement ever. After all that, they complain that they can't make a living at their job. Yeah, you stupid idiot, because you stole a white person child's job. That's all you're worth. That's all you can actually accomplish doing in this world, is a children's job of our people, And so we have to gives them more important jobs than that, or they'll never have them out of merit. Because we're basically decorating animals up in white people clothes and then letting them call themselves white people names, perhaps, and then pretending they're white people. I know a guy who all a Puerto Rican has to do is call himself a white guy named, hey, I'm Daryl. And he's Puerto Rican or whatever as can be, Colombian as can be, or I don't know if he's Mexican or what. He's 1,000% not white, calls himself Daryl, and the guy knows, the guy I'm talking about that I know that's white, just cucks right to it, like, oh yeah, man, he's just like us, he's one of us, he's a white guy, he's Daryl, man. I mean, that's as stupid as if a black bleaches his hair blonde and then you pretend he's white. It's like, dude, these aren't white people. Stop treating them like white people. They're not. Don't give them jobs. Don't be pandering to them. Don't be super going out of your way to be nice to them. Don't freaking hook them up with crap. They're the problem. What are you going to feed? And imagine if you had an infection on your foot, and then you discovered, oh, this infection, if it gets any, if it gets any flour on it, like wheat flour on it, it'll like cauliflower up and grow like crazy and spread all over my body and infect me worse because that's a superfood for it. Oh, let me give it some. No, you don't feed parasites. You don't feed things that are trying to kill you, trying to rob you, trying to steal from you, trying to take your things, trying to conquer you, seeking revenge against you, longing for the day where they make you their slaves, like their Hebrew Israelite Nation of Islam, Mother Plane waiting on. Y'all don't know about that yet. Dream, we was fantasy dream is, that's their goal. They don't have any other goal except white people to be their slaves. The white women to be their sex slaves. That's their only goal in this whole world. They hate our guts, they want us dead, and they want our women as their sex slaves, and we allow them to live in our country. And you send your kids to school with them. And you let your daughter cheer them on the side of the football field. What an idiot those fools are. So, now that we have established that we are all in the same accord, let me get back to the chat. A couple people said a couple more things, and then we will get to our prayer. Let's see here. Unknown. Finished or continued with. Even if we have to fight savagely, it's necessary for preserving our areas. That's exactly right. And remember, we had no issue doing that before we became cucked. We used to hang horse thieves. You know what I mean? That's how uncucked we were. If we caught someone who raped one of our white women, we tied him to the bumper and drug him down the road. That's okay. That's all right. It's okay to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. When in fact, the dude raped one of our white women. You know what I mean? In fact, when a non-white rapes one of our white women, there is nothing wrong that we do to them. There's no such thing as anything wrong we do to them. Doesn't matter if we cut their fingers off one at a time, torture them to death for hours and hours. It doesn't matter how morbid and gruesome of a punishment we give them. They earned it when they raped our white woman. They violated our people. They ruined a woman's life for the rest of her life. For the rest of her life, she's ruined. Her body is ruined. Her mind is ruined. Her soul is ruined. Her peace is ruined forever. And one white woman's soul is worth all the non-whites in the world. Worth more than all the non-whites in the world who've ever existed and who will ever exist. How do I know that for a fact? Because God said that they will be as though they never were. As though they had never been. That's the future coming. They will be to us as though they had never been. Why is that? Because Jesus Christ in Matthew 15:24 already explained to you that he's only returning to save white people. He was sent to save the lost children only, he says. I was not. That means he wasn't sent. But for. That means except for. So he was not sent except for the lost children of the house of Israel. That's white people. Okay? Matthew 15:24 said so out of his own mouth. If you don't agree, non-white listening or conservative listening, feel free to argue with Jesus Christ himself. I'm pretty sure Jesus Christ knows exactly who he came to save and exactly what he's talking about. So, moving on, but yes, what Unknown is saying here of having to fight savagely, that is what we're going to have to do. There's no, well, let me stop there. I just misspoke. And let me correct myself. I have already explained in other posts, in other videos, and in other streams that we don't have to fight at all. We don't have to lift one finger. Do you want to know the secret? It's not a secret. It's written in our Bible over and over again. But apparently it's this huge secret to our white people who should be reading our Bible, and then it wouldn't be a secret. There is a textbook in our Bible, a biblical instruction for how to rid yourself, how to remove invaders from your land without having to fight them. Remember, if you don't have to fight them, then you don't have to lose some of your sons and some of your daughters and some of your women and some of your friends who are your peers to battle and to little battles that you lose here and there. And then your women are, somebody's woman is conquered, white kids are raped because a little battle here and there were lost in the big battle. You know, no, none of those people have to be raped or killed or die or be attacked or anything. And there's an instruction in our Bible of how to do it. God tells us if our people keep his Sabbath, if we take our foot off his Sabbath, if we stop stepping on it, remove your foot from his Sabbath. That means glorify it, honor it. When you've got your foot on it, you're standing on it. It can't rise. Sabbath is supposed to be the highest day, the most elevated, the most high day of our entire week. It's supposed to be above. Above. That means up. That means not down or below or beneath or under your foot. Above. Up. High. Up. Upward. It needs to be up. It needs to be high on your list. The top of something means up, right? The most upward part of something. So, Sabbath's supposed to be the top of your week, the top of your existence of your weekly cycle. In other words, your week should start at day 1, Sabbath just ended, and you work all 6 days looking forward to that 7th day coming. And then boom, that 7th day comes and you go, thank you, Lord. Woo! Got done with another 6 days. Thank you for giving me another 6 days, and thank you for giving me this next 7th day, this white people history day. 52 of those a year you get to enjoy if you just would. Non-whites don't get 52 days a year. They might in total, but they don't get a day every week to be honored. Only white people get that. White people history day, every 7th day. That's Sabbath. And if you would just keep it that way, boom, you satisfy our God, you convince all the other of our white people. I don't mean all by you convincing the whole world of our white people, but I just mean, I'm speaking generally here. If we all help get the bulk, the major bulk of our people to start keeping Sabbath again. This is why I like the Seventh-day Adventist Church thing. And I like the idea of us infiltrating it. Okay, and that was when I brought up the thing about deception and being manipulative and things, that God does that and godly men have done that. Israel did it. Jacob did that to get the birthright from Esau because he didn't care about it, to get the blessing from his father because he didn't care about it. All those things. There are deceptions and manipulations. If we go and infiltrate, remember that's what the Jays do. The Jays have infiltrated all of our things to commandeer them. Well, we've got to learn to do the same thing. We've got to learn to propagandize like they do. We've got to learn to be open and loud and rude about our position, just like they are. They go out in the street and scream with a bullhorn in the middle of everywhere where nobody wants to hear them. We got to end whiteness. We got to shut down white people. We got to end white supremacy. They sit there and scream everything against white people with a bullhorn in busy traffic, rush hour of the day, New York City, Times Square. And what do? We keep our mouths shut and silently just ho-hum along our day, never speaking bad about Jews, never speaking bad about non-whites in public. You got to stop doing that. You have to be careful how you do it. You're going to have to be smart. Use your 3-digit white man IQ to do it. But you've got to start openly speaking about the non-whites and the situation we have. Call them invaders. Okay? Don't ever say the word illegals. There's no such thing as a legal non-white in our country. Besides, the word legal means Jewish permission. So that means every non-white in our country is, quote, legal. Because Jews say they're welcome here. That means every non-white on the face of the earth is legal to be in a white person's country. There's no such thing, like AOC said, there's no such thing as an illegal non-white in a white person's country. Only she said on U.S. soil or whatever. But what she means is, and what she really wanted to say was, in any white person's or in any white country. Don't matter if it's Russia or England or Germany or France. There's no such thing as a non-white or an illegal non-white in any white country. That's the way Jews look at it. And you got to understand, AOC's a dumbass, but she said the correct thing there. She knows that legal and legalism means Jewish permission. The word permit, that means Jewish permission. The word license means the Jews allow you to do it. So, and like ordinances and codes and violations, those are all breaking Jewish policies, Jewish legalism, Jewish rules. Law is the opposite of legalism. Law is God's rules. God's say so. Legalism is Jews say so. So why the heck would you be calling non-whites illegals when you know that Jewish permission is what legal means, and you know that Jews brought them here and welcomed them here and teach them how to get here and help them get here and plan to make all of them legal just by a signature? How are you going to sit there and stress the fact that they're illegal or not vetted? Who gives a crap about that? Who gives a crap if they're vetted? Who gives a crap if they're called legal by the Jews? What good would it do if 5 billion non-whites flood our country legally. What good does it do you? What good does it do if all 5 billion of them were vetted first? Our country will be overrun. Our people will be overwhelmed. Our country will be overtaken. It will just become their non-white country, and we will be destroyed and conquered and ruined forever. And there will never be a rest of this white country anymore, whichever one, whether it's England or whatever we're talking about at the time. But in this case, since we're discussing America, there will be no more America. If we let 5 billion or 2 billion or 1 billion or 200 million or 300 million more non-whites come to our country. We're already lost our country right now. And there's only 220 or 240 or 260 million whites here. There's not even 300 million non-whites here yet. And we've already lost our country. Why? Because we allowed the Jews to kill millions of our white elderly people who used to vote, who are, granted voting's a hoax, but who still have influence, in some way or shape or form, and still had numbers in our statistics in the country. They murdered off 20 to 30 million of our elderly white people in our nursing homes using the poison and the inhaler. The, the breathing apparatus. I think they called it the, not inhaler. What do they call that stupid thing? I forget. One of y'all could probably help me with that in the chat. But, ventilator, that's what it was. The ventilators. They used ventilators to hyperventilate our elders. That literally they just manually murdered them with the ventilators by hyperventilating them, and they died because they're elderly and they can't take a hyperventilation an event like that without passing out and dying or without passing away. So they literally just murdered some of and they used the non-white nurses to do it, of course. And that's why they were all cheering and doing dances on TikTok. The conservatives couldn't understand. They're like, wow, we're having this like epic thing going on, this illness. And of course, some of the conservatives were torn between whether they believed it was real or not, because Trump kept throwing different signals. It's a hoax. Oh, wait, I'm the king of the jab and watch me take it. And it's the best thing ever. So they didn't really know what to think one way or another about the illness at first, while we were all telling them that it was a hoax. And so while they're watching all that go down, they were seeing all these non-white nurses doing dances on TikTok, and they were like, man, this is such a weird phenomenon. I thought y'all are supposed to be busy taking care of patients. I thought your hospitals were crowded and overwhelmed with sick people, but here you are doing dances. That means you must have plenty of time off. There must not be any sick people at your hospitals. Therefore, this all must be a lie. Well, what the dances were actually for is they were celebrating. They were celebrating all the white people they were getting to murder and that they had already murdered. Okay, that's what the TikTok nurse dance is all about. It's, yay, we're celebrating that we're murdering white people and you dumbasses don't even know or do anything about it. That's what the dance is. That's what it's celebrating, just so you know. And so, while we were trying to explain that to the conservatives, they were too busy wondering, other reasons for it. They were too cucked to understand what the dance was actually about and what it was actually celebrating. So not only did we lose 20 to 30 million of our elders in the nursing homes to this hoax, which gave the non-whites a green light to murder millions of our people, but also we lost millions of our active, working body, hardworking white men who have just dropped dead. My own friends, I didn't bury them, but I mean, what I buried, obviously 8 of close, I don't want to say super close, but very good acquaintances of mine that I've known for many years. They were all healthy white men, strong, fit, physique, the whole thing, healthy, and had no, previous health issues, and each one of them just dropped dead suddenly. Just like you hear the whole died suddenly thing. That's exactly what all of them did. None of them, went through 2 or 6 months of trouble and problems. No, they dropped dead instantly. Why? Because, again, like I've explained in other posts, and that's another one I should do a whole video about, but I really should have done it 4 years ago, is the vax was, it is still, it's non-white DNA. It's non-white blood. It's a concoction of non-white DNA and non-white blood. I realize that non-white DNA is in non-white blood, but It's somehow it's a concoction of not just non-white blood, but it's like it's broken down into its segments where it can't be detected necessarily as blood, both looking at it visually or whatever. But what it was, it's designed to put non-white DNA into white people. That's what it's for. It's not meant anybody else that gets harmed from it. You know, some Mexicans die from it, some Guatemalans get sick from it. Oh well, Jews don't care about that because they don't care about any of them. The whole point is to try to kill off whitey. And any non-white that happens to die or get sick along the way, they can give two craps about that. That's a zero issue for them. They wouldn't care if all the non-whites of the world died while they were trying to kill whitey, as long as whitey ends up being killed. So the non-whites, or the 30 million that we lost there, brings our numbers down, you know, a lot. So we started off perhaps at 130 million. Now we're down to only 100 million if you take away those 30 million of our elders that they murdered, that the non-whites murdered in the hospitals, then in the nursing homes. Then you take away all the able-bodied white men that they killed by the millions, young athletes even, and whatever, that have dropped dead. And I notice men die from it a lot more than women. So women do too, though. But I notice our white men die from it a lot more. Not sure why. That's an interesting phenomenon. But the clot shot is non-white DNA, non-white blood, and it's a twofold action. By putting non-white blood into a white person, it causes them to die, because your body will immediately reject the vaccine because it's not a vaccine, it's non-white blood. And so your body will start fighting that clump of toxic poison that was injected into you. It will surround it with antibodies or in white blood cells, whatever, however it wants to attack it. The mechanics of it, I'm not real thorough on, but it would use either white blood cells or some other type of mechanics to attack this non-white blood and what it tries to do is it tries to encompass it or break it down. Well, your body, in order to fight poisons, it will defeat poisons different ways. Some it will break apart, some it will encase and encapsule like cocoon it and try to pass it through the body and expel it from the body while it's cocooned so that it can't do more harm to the rest of the body. Some things it just tries to come and break down and destroy and break up into pieces where it's not an existing organism in the body anymore. And whichever process it was, the process, that is what happens. Your body would attack the invasive poison, and then as it starts attacking it's creating this congealing situation where the congealing ends up being this clot. And when the clot forms, it doesn't form into like a little hard nugget and then it eventually just suddenly cracks loose and then flows into a small area that it can't flow through any further and plugs it, and bang, you have a stroke and die, or you have a heart attack and die. What it does is it congeals throughout, like the leg, all the way through the leg, or like a big artery in your torso. And as it congeals, it still keeps letting blood flow by, you know? And as long as you have even a smidgen of a passage for your arteries and veins to work, the blood pressure of your body is powerful enough that it will shoot blood through those little passages and you will keep functioning. And it takes a full blockage for you to actually suddenly go down. And when you do, you die immediately. But that's the thing, is this, and that's why when you saw in pictures of these doctors who pull these gigantic, mega long, crazy, they look like ant farms under the ground. They're so big and spread out and have all these different appendages to them and everything, of a clot. You know, some of the clots are like 2 feet long and have all these appendages, growths off of them, you know. And so that is how the thing does. And the reason why is because if they would just inject people and people were dying a day or two later, well, that would be so obvious that maybe even our cucked white people would finally acknowledge that we're under attack by these wicked creatures. But since this, they gave us just, not us, but they gave them just a small enough amount of non-white blood in that concoction that your body takes a long time to congeal or to fight it and end up building up this big cluster of a clot, you know. And because the clot is, it's like a, how do I explain it? It's not like a firm substance. It's like a jelly, okay? And a jelly can cause you to die suddenly because a jelly can actually eventually fill in an area where it fills it in just good enough, and now, boom, there's a seal, and the blood can't get through, and boom, that's when someone dies suddenly. So it takes a long time. Yes, a lot of people got sick right away, and some people did die, funny enough, within 2 or 3 weeks of having the jab. And still, our white people didn't do crap. And you know another reason our white people didn't go heavy against the jab? Because Trump promoted it. And then what do they do after Trump was freaking booted out and they moved in Biden? Freaking, they all defended Trump. It's the Fauci ouchie. That shot's the Fauci ouchie. No, it's not. Operation Warp Speed, cucked fool. Trump got up there, pretended he took it, knowing damn good and well he wasn't taking it, knowing damn good and well he was full of shit, pardon my French, knowing damn good and well that he was lying to his 99.999999999% white voter base that he was taking the jab, and he wasn't. And he also knew for a fact, he knows for a fact, that the jab is designed to put non-white DNA into white people and kill them. And also, the jab, here, now let me give you the second part of the jab. The second reason for the jab is when you die, you died with non-white blood in you. You died with non-white blood in you. Guess what that is? That's like a mark of the beast. It's like fornication. When you've made yourself like a Jew, like a mongrel, like a hybrid. Why? Because now you have non-white DNA in you. You're tainted. You're contaminated. You understand what contamination means, right? You remember what the one drop rule is, right? About Jewish ancestry, and if you have any, then you weren't allowed in the country of Germany when it was based. Well, the one drop rule absolutely applies. If you have one drop of DNA, non-white DNA in your body is contaminated. You're not a pure blood. You're not a pure specimen. You have a spot and a blemish. You have a mark. You have a mark on you. What is it of the beast? The what of the beast? Mark of the beast. What is a beast? The non-whites? What do you have? Non-whites mark in your body? The mark of the non-whites. You have the mark of the beast in your body. That's what the jab is. It's a mark of the beast. Am I telling you it's the biblical official mark of the beast? No. What I'm saying is it's a mark of the beast. And it's a mark of literal, for real, actual, for real beast. So it literally is a mark of the beast. So, and you get it in the forehead or the hand. Well, they didn't inject it in people's forehead. And they didn't really inject it in people's hand. But the head and hand thing means belief and action. Okay? So if you get it in the forehead, that means you believe it. That means you took the jab because, by golly, you believe that it's going to work and save you from dying of whatever hoax they've created and name they've created for the hoax. That's you getting it in the head. That means you believe it. It's in your mind. It's in your brain. You've been brainwashed. The mark of the beast is in your head. If you get it in the hand, that means, oh, well, they were going to fire me. You know, if I didn't take the jab, they weren't going to let me back in the building because only jabbed people were going to be allowed in the building from then on. So anybody that refused the jab, well, they had to let us go. Okay, that's what getting it in the hand means. That means, well, I had to keep my job. You know, I make $80 an hour. I can't just walk away from that. What am I going to do for a living? So I had to. I had to do what I had to do. That's what people like to. They love to tell themselves that when they do something counterproductive for their and work against their own God, work against our God. They love to say, "I had to do what I had to do." That's the excuse of I didn't have the testicular fortitude to do what's right and what I know to be right. Got to do what I got to do, or had to do what I had to do. There's almost nothing I hate hearing more than that as an excuse for doing something that they shouldn't have done. When I hear our white people say that as an excuse. So, wow, we're really taking a long time to get to this prayer, aren't we? 3 hours. We just hit 3 hours and 10 seconds on the money. Let me get down here to the chat. Let's see here. Unknown said, no, we gotta go. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, said, Jose, ¿dónde está mi Coca-Cola Corbin? Doc Holiday said, stay white is the most white person ever. My God, I like be this. I'd like to be like this maybe, or I like be this. Love this stuff. Yeah, and I don't say any of these things to like, to try to be like, I don't know, hyperbolic or be speaking pedantically enough to like wow people for entertainment. This is really our real problems in the world. This is really, I mean, and you understand that this really is, honest to God, this is just straight up our problem. This is the problems we are dealing with. This is what our people are suffering through, and our God is having to long suffer and watch and wait while he waits on us to finally correct our behavior and obey him. And so, you know, everything we talk about here is standard fact and easily observable, you know. And I know that you folks can see all those things plain as day. All I'm doing is being but being a guy on a platform that and just talking about it all. I'm just, you know, articulating it out in different ways, expressing it in different approaches. That way, you know, it can click in someone's mind. Someone may hear one example or one reason or one version of a story I give and it not click at all. And they never grasp the concept of what we're trying to teach. But then if you tell another story or explain it another way, from another angle, from another approach, sometimes you'll finally snap someone out of their cuckery from another direction, you know? And so that's why I do these big, long-winded, long over-explained things. Even if someone only remembers 2% of what they hear on one of these streams, that 2% could take them all the way to basedness, you know? And so let's get back to the chat here. Unknown said, especially not intercoursing with them. God saw that as an abomination. Exactly right. That is bestiality. They are the beasts. So that is bestiality. It's no different than them having sex with a dog or a giraffe or anything else. A chicken. So, absolutely correct. That's perfectly correct. Deborah McGee said, I was listening to a podcast and one of those Hebrew Israelites called in. Those dudes are idiots. Yes, they are. And they already understand that it's a lying grift. They're basically cosplayers is what they're doing. They're cosplaying. They know that the Jews made up that whole story and gave it to them to be able to grift Whitey with. And they told them, hey, go out in public and shame white people and tell them their day is coming and they're almost done for and God hates them and plans on destroying them and that they're the Edomites and that you're Israel and that you're the heroes of the Bible and that they're the beneficiaries of the Bible and that they're the enemies of the Bible. And you can even call yourselves the Jews. We Jews don't mind. Go ahead and call yourselves the Jews if you want. I don't know if y'all saw that video that I posted a link to a little while ago, but right before DeSantis gets up to speak about the bill he passed about banning or about teaching communism being bad, at the very 1 second beginning of that video, there's a black dude in the crowd wearing a yarmulke. And he's just a straight up regular old African black, you know. So you know he ain't no Jay. He's just a wee was. So that was pretty funny to see at the old DeSantis thing there, a black cosplayer. And so whenever you see black Hebrews in public, I know I'm just calling them that because that's what they call themselves. I don't really think that's what they are. Whenever you see those in public, call them cosplayers. They probably don't even know what that means. They probably don't even know what the word cosplayer means because they don't have that kind of intellect, but call them that anyway. And hopefully some of them will know what it means. And, you know, you get a nice jab in on them like that. Because that's all they're doing. They're just cosplaying. They're no different than a furry. They're putting on a furry outfit, only instead of it being a furry costume, it's, you know, whatever their interpreter or their belief of Hebrew looking things and garb and regalia would be. Not like they would know, but they look at the Jays and then they go, okay, well, we'll make our own little version of the Jays stuff that they like to wear, and we'll call that the real Jay stuff. But they know the Jays made up this horse crap. They know the Jays are who. Not only do they know the Jays made it up, but they know the Jays are who gave it to them to start hustling white people with. They know that it's just a 100% grift on Whitey and that it's a totally made up thing. And they don't care, though. You understand that blacks don't care about any type of ill-gotten gains. I've mentioned this before in other streams and on other videos, but you hear cuck-servative white people, and you'll definitely read in the comments sections of cuck-servative channels like Salty Cucker and Veteran Cucker and Cuckus Reform and Dreidel Wire and all the others. You'll hear, or you'll read, I should say, in the chat, in the comment section, whatever, you'll see all these cuck-servatives put things like, I'd be so ashamed, I'd be so embarrassed if I knew I was getting hired just because I'm because of the color of my skin, you know. I'd be so ashamed, I'd be so embarrassed. Imagine getting your job just from the color of your skin. Well, guess what? They don't care. Not only do they not care, not only are they not ashamed, and not only are they not embarrassed, they're happy as hell to be hired based only because they're black. They're happy as hell to take your $100,000 a year job away from a white person, away from your white butt. They're gonna laugh all the way to the bank in their brand new EBT freaking Mercedes with your $100,000 yearly paycheck. They're gonna laugh all the way to the bank with it, knowing that the Jews put them there just because they're black, just because they're not white. They don't care. So stop telling yourself, and I'm not talking to you folks in the chat, this is for folks who may listen in, who are cuck-servatives, who actually uncuck themselves and mature themselves enough to listen to 3 hours of based speech. If you listen this far, cuck-servative, trying to explain to you to stop with your cuckery, all right? Stop with your cuckery. They don't care. They don't think like you, okay? Who gives a shit if you would be embarrassed or if you'd be ashamed? No one's talking about you. We don't care about you being ashamed or you being embarrassed. You're white. White people have shame. White people do get embarrassed. That's what blushing is. And only we can do that. Only white people have shame. Okay? Shame means being able to blush, being able to reveal that you're embarrassed or busted or humiliated or excited or happy or angry through the face without speaking and without having to make a funny face of any kind. The changing of your face to red, blushing, that is the symbol, that is the signal of the existence of shame. That's what that is. Non-whites do not possess this characteristic. This is only an attribute of the white people. And so, when you see white people say these things or type these things, I know it must make y'all roll your eyes all the way to the back of your head. But find clever ways to, and friendly though. Remember, we're having to learn to start being more friendly. I like to call people cucked fella and stuff in the comments because I know that jabs them pretty hard. And I only try to really do it with the really confident ones, or the ones that speak against the Nazis and Uncle A and on German white Christians. You know, basically that's what the Nazis were, German white Christians. Happy German white Christians, grateful happy German white Christians. When I see them being used as a negative reference, like when you see salty cuckers, commenters, and even him himself calling their opponents Nazis, that's when you get them. Get them with the cucked fella, get them with the cucked conservative, say whatever stinging, hammer down, stinging thing you can give them, aggressive thing you can give them, because you've got to knock the ego out of that particular idiot, right? But I mean, be patient with our people, like in person, and you can be more aggressive online, but in person, just be more patient with our people, only our people. Don't be more patient with the non-whites. You need to be making non-whites feel uncomfortable everywhere they go. Everywhere they go, when you're in their presence, they should feel uncomfortable. They should feel like they ought to leave. They should feel like they don't belong there. You should look at them like they don't belong there. You should give them the look on your face when you see non-whites. When they look at you, the look on your face should be, what the F are you doing in my country? What are you doing standing in my living room with broken glass all around your feet? My broken window right there. That's the look you should have on your face. It shouldn't be, hey, what's going on, man? Hello, sir. You want me to hold it here? Come on in first. Here, after you, sir. No, none of that. It should be, what are you doing here? What are you doing here, dude? That's the look you should have on your face. What are you doing here, female? What are you doing here with your little femalets? Your little mexilets? What are you doing here, you little Honduran? None of them should feel comfortable here. Ever. Never. Not one moment should they feel comfortable in our country. In any of our countries. All right, let's go in here. We're getting a quick pop-up shower, looks like. Thought all that was over, but I guess not. So, wow, we've covered a lot in this 3 hours and still haven't gotten to the prayer, but we will. The whole point of me doing this stream was to do the prayer. Just interesting comments. Been wanting to kick back and forth with y'all about those. Forza Blanquito said, been subbed to this channel for a long time, but never managed to catch a live before. Ever thought about getting an Odyssey channel? Lots of based white streamers over there. No, I was going to do an Odyssey channel at one point, but when I was going to sign up on there and everything, there were some weird roadblocks it had in the way. It was asking for like a bank account and some other things, stuff I wasn't willing to do. And not only that, traffic for me on alternative platforms is practically nothing. So it's basically useless. Rumble, even Goyim TV is the only, GTV is the only website that absolutely has done well compared to any other platform. My view count on some of my videos is higher on GTV than it is on YouTube. But we have way more interaction in the comment sections and things like that than we get from GTV. GTV does, I do get some comments in my videos, but so it's not like I don't get any. But like Rumble, Minds, BitChute, Odyssey, all that crap, I'll get no traffic. And you would think I would. You would think, oh man, you're based, and there are based guys on there, like you had said in your comment. There's based guys already on there. You'll fit right in. If they get a lot of views, surely you should get a lot of views. But it just really isn't that way, because a lot of the ones that are based over there on those other platforms, and I have visited those platforms, but a lot of those who are based on those other platforms, they're based only in one particular way. Like they're they're pro-pagan, cuck. They're pro-pagan cucks, or they're still like a big pro-Trump, cuck-servative thing. Or they're pro-Nazi only, you know what I mean, and nothing else. They just want like the whole whatever. There are people who are like only into like a certain exact format of our basedness and not just welcome and enveloping all of our whiteness in as one thing. And so, I'm not down with those types necessarily. I'm not against them because there are people and they recognize that our Germans were happy Christians, but that's the problem is they don't. They know that they were good people, but they don't acknowledge that the Germans were Germany was 99% Christian through the entirety of the 30s and 40s. So that means that all of Nazi Germany was happy white Christians, okay? And what country full of tens of millions of happy white Christians would you not feel comfortable at? There's just no such thing. Every white person would be fully comfortable in a 100% white Christian, 99 as it's called even on the Jewish websites. I showed on one of my videos. Jewish websites themselves admit that Germany in the 30s and 40s was 99% Christian. That means all of it was Christian. All of them were Christian. They were grateful that Uncle A had pulled them out of Jewish ridicule and Jewish shaming and Jewish debauchery imposed on our people. They had a gay bar on every corner. They owned all kinds of dirty book publishing houses. That's what the book burnings were. And that's why they demonize book burnings. You'll see conservatives talk about book burning as though it's bad all the time. And just like they call Nazis bad, they call book burning bad. When neither was a bad thing, both were done to eliminate the Jewish parasite infection from our... that's going to make my stream get in trouble, perhaps, but who cares? We're far enough in, we're going to keep going. So, bottom line is, conservatives, when you see them make those comments, get them. Get them with aggressive, because call them cucked, because they hate being called that. They hate it. That's like calling a conservative a cucked fella or a conservative, either one, is one of the best blows you can give to a big ego swollen pro-Trumper, who just has no idea what he's talking about, and all he's doing is just, defending Trump and not white people, and he's defending it all the wrong way by blaming Nazis and calling the left Nazis and talking about book burn. Oh, you want to burn all the books? Yeah, all the books where they've written to teach our kids to bang, non-whites and homosexuals. That's what books were burned. And the soldiers didn't burn them. It was the fathers in Germany. Look the pictures up for yourselves. I know y'all probably already have. But tell others who are cucked, look up the pictures for yourself. Try to find soldiers from Germany throwing books into the book burning fire. You can't. They were all standing there with their rifle, just chilling, at ease, watching while well-dressed, regular German men, not in the military, not in service at that moment, dressed in their nice, normal, I'm a dad clothes, just got off work from the factory clothes, gleefully tossing that Jewish schmutt into the fire pit. Okay? That's what you're going to find. You're going to find well-dressed, perfect Aryan Chads throwing those books into the book burning fires. So that's the kind of thing you need to be telling our conservatives when you see them typing that kind of anti-white garbage in their comment, trying to defend Trumpstein, never trying to defend our people, just trying to defend Trump. What a waste of our time that is. But That's that's the ones you got to hit with the aggressive comment, calling them cucked. You know, you got to hit them with something like that stings, because if you try to just go, good sir, I realize you're pro Trump, da da da, but it turns out, blah, blah. If you start soft like that with them, they're just going to totally disregard. They're not going to care what your comment says. They're not going to take it as they're not going to sit up and think about your comment for a couple hours, right? But if they get called a cucked fella, right? That is going to spin in their head all night. Am I cucked? Am I really a cucked fella? That guy called me a cucked fella. How can I be cucked? I'm pro-Trump. I'm America first. I want everybody to come in legal. How am I cucked? Because they don't realize. They don't even realize. They think they call everyone else normies. The salty cuckers call other normies the normies, not realizing that they are the freaking normies, right? They don't even realize. Salty cuckers think that they're not cucked. They actually think that they are that they're based people, right? And you'll see in the comments, you'll see you'll see them use the word based incorrectly all the time. Salty cucker will post some Thomas Sowell or Byron, whatever his name is, some worthless token black that are conservatives, exactly like every leftist does, bolsters up only because they're black. And Salty Cucker does the same thing. Anytime one of the conservatives bolsters up or promotes or Byron Adams just said whatever to the congressional session hearing, he just said, well, he just laid the hammer down. And you'll see these idiots in the comments putting stuff like based, Byron's based, garbage like that. So they don't even understand what based is. They don't understand that based means you are 100% pro-white and that you are 100% against anything that's not white, and that's and that that non-whites don't belong in our country. None of them. Zero. Not one single one. There's not one. Not Dinesh D'Souza. Not freaking Candace Owens. Not Jesse Lee Peterson. There isn't one. There is not one. Read our 1790 Naturalization Act. Okay? It doesn't say of white men of good character and Jesse Lee Peterson. It doesn't say of white men of good character and Byron, some or other, some token nog. No, it says white men of good character. That's it. That's the only thing that is natural. Natural. That means belongs here. That means is supposed to be here. The only thing natural that can be naturalized as natural. Nature belongs here. Natural. Why do you think they didn't call it citizenship? Has it ever occurred to you why it's not called the 1790 Citizenship Act? Has it never occurred to you why that is? I'll give you the two reasons why that is. The first reason, some of you probably already know. Citizen means slave. The word citizen means slave. That's what it means. Look it up in Black's Law Dictionary. And that Black's Law Dictionary, by the way, does not mean Negroes possessive law, like blacks, the people blacks, they're not people, but the critters blacks have law. No. Black's Law Dictionary is a name of a dictionary that has all the definitions of law in it. And it has nothing to do with Negroes or blacks. It's just called blacks like a white man's last name, Black, and then it's his dictionary. So that type of thing. But citizen means slave. And the whole point our founding fathers were doing of creating America was to get us out from under a monarchy system. Now, monarchies are biblical, and they are biblically blessed. God is okay with monarchies. He's okay with a king and a queen. over an entire kingdom of people. He told our father Abraham, and he told our father Israel, that many kingdoms and nations would come from them. Many kings and nations would come from them. Kings, okay? Kings means many monarchies will come from you. Look all across Europe, from before Christ was on the earth and all the time to now after Christ. We've had many bajillions of kingdoms. 6 million Brazilian kingdoms. And with those kingdoms came many kings. Some kingdoms had 15 kings before that kingdom ended. Some kingdoms may have had 112 kings before that kingdom ended. And some kingdoms ended after the first king that ever created it died. But we have had many thousands upon thousands upon thousands of kings in our people's lineages and among our people. And that's because we've had thousands and thousands of monarchies. Can't have a king without a monarchy. So monarchism is biblical, okay? You need to acknowledge and absorb that as a Bible follower. But our founding fathers of this country said, there's so much corruption with our people right now, because they weren't dealing with blacks, they weren't dealing with Asians, they weren't dealing with Arabs, they weren't dealing with anybody except our people. And they were like, look, our people are already in such a, what word should I use for this? Such a corrupted state that we don't want to give the power again to just one person to abuse it and abuse all of our people all he likes. Instead, we are going to create a system where we don't rely on the musings of only one guy, where many of us get together and argue out and hash out the problems, and we'll call it we the people, because we are going to represent the rest of the people who don't want to involve themselves in the political arguments about what rules get created and what rules get established. And so the 1790 Naturalization Act is the very first law ever established in our government, in our country, for our country, to establish who belongs in our country. Now, let me get to the number 2 reason why it's not called the Citizenship Act, it's called the Naturalization Act. I hinted to it earlier when I kept saying natural, nature over and over again. America is the Garden of Eden. America is the Garden of Eden. Florida, particularly, is the Garden of Eden. And since Florida is the Garden of Eden, white people are natural to this country. We were created in America. When you think about something natural, you know that natural means that is where it belongs. If you see a squirrel climbing a tree, you see him running around a tree, if someone were to come by and say, hey, what he's up to looks very